Hello and good evening, everybody. It's me, DH Thorne, coming at you live on a beautiful Thursday night. We've had some interesting weather lately. I almost had to wear shorts this week. That's actually somewhat unusual for October. Not unheard of, but definitely unusual. So how's everybody going? How's everybody doing tonight? It's good to hear. Sounds good. Audio's good. All right, good. So hello and welcome, everybody. Astrological 999 says, glad to see you back. F the shadow ban. Yeah, I mean, you can let me know if you can, guys. Like, you know, have you guys been getting notifications of my stuff? Has it finally started to lay off a little bit? I did notice that, like in the last couple of weeks, I'm noticing, you know, a little bit more attention on my live streams again, which is kind of good. So hopefully they lay it off a little bit. We'll see how long that lasts, though. Z, give me the good old horns. What's going on, Z? Joffrey says hello to everybody. Shrieking Violet, the Blue Wrench is here. Thank you so much. I call her the Blue Wrench, but she is my favorite wife in the whole world. She's my only wife, obviously, but she's my favorite, too. Skeleton Power says, sup, his own version of the horns, looks like. Jose's here saying hi. Damian Draco, what's up, brother? Haven't seen you in a little bit. Sinister Jinx, Eddie Romanov, and yeah. So what's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing? Eddie says he got the notification. How's everybody's notifications doing? I would like to know. I'm drinking tea out of my Power Color cup. I don't know if you guys can see it. I don't want to tip it too much. Good old red and black. It's my favorite. Hey, Jay Sauber right away with the super chat. Thank you, brother. $4.99. Appreciate that so much, my friend. I really do. Hopefully everything's doing well for you, man. I haven't heard from you a little bit in email. Feel free to email me if you got any questions or anything, brother. I hope you're doing well. Owie Man. I'm going to call you Owie Man, although I think that's supposed to be something else. I'm going to call it Owie Man. I like that. What's up, Owie Man? It's like Oemon. Oemon. We'll say Oemon. How about that? Oemon. Okay, Skeleton got a notification. All right, good. I have a feeling that it's gonna, how do I put this? They're gonna back off a little bit. Probably because there's a lot of upheaval going on. I don't know if you guys notice, but there is a little bit of upheaval going on in the big tech world, isn't there? And I think there's a lot of people looking over things going, you know, maybe we should just back off a little bit. Just a little. We'll see what happens, though. Maybe they'll double down on these other platforms. Yeah, Jose's saying he got the notification in a few minutes. That's good. All right, so you're getting some notifications. That's good. Scarlet Bells, what's going on? It's been a little while. I've seen you a couple times, but it's been a little while since I said hi to you. I'm glad to see you. I hope you're doing well, sister. Hope everything's good with you and yours. It's kind of a hangout night tonight. What's everybody going to be doing for Halloween this week? Huh? It's coming up. It's got a couple days to go. Of course, it's on a crappy day this week, this year. It's not really like the best time of year for Halloween, is it? I mean, who wants to do Halloween on a Monday? Like when I was a kid, like the Holy Grail was Halloween on a Friday or a Saturday. That was the holy of holies. Like that was, for me and my friends, Halloween was the absolute greatest holiday. I mean, yeah, Christmas is cool because you get all the stuff, but Halloween was when we got to be like just right bastards, okay? You know, like Devil's Night from The Crow. I mean, we went crazy. We did all the bad stuff that we could get away with. So Monday's kind of a crappy night for it. The best Halloween of my youth was on a Saturday. I think it was a Saturday. Was that a Friday or Saturday night? So we didn't have to go home. So we were out till like 3 or 4 in the morning. Even with the soft curfew, we had to like dodge cops and stuff. It was good shit. Yeah, good you're still working. I used to go shaving. DH, did you do that too? Yeah. Shaving was nothing, man. Shaving was the stuff that we got into. Like, I can't even say on, I probably shouldn't say on any social media, let alone like, you know, big tech. But the stuff that we used to get up to, we would have been called literally and probably justifiably terrorists. That's a joke, but it's a funny joke. So we used to play with, like, we'll just call it fireworks. And we used to do crazy stuff. We didn't do any arson or anything like that. Nothing illegal like that. And if I did, I'd say I didn't. Of course, it's past the statute of limitations, so it's probably fine. Yeah, we used to create things that you could find in the anarchist cookbook. We'll put it that way. And we used to find creative ways to utilize them. I don't want to be too much more clear than that. But yeah, we used to do all kinds of stuff. Like, I mean, I grew up in an area that's mostly like half and half. It's either like really tame or it's really not. And the stuff we used to get up to in the bad part of town, like, I'll just leave it at that. Some people know. Some people know. Some people wouldn't know. Some people wouldn't get it. Cryptids and Catacombs. That's an interesting name. Haven't seen you before, or if I have, I don't remember that. That's a pretty cool name. Going to a party at the bar for the 29th. That sounds like fun. So first things first, big announcement. I'll probably announce this a couple times. Camilla and I are going again tomorrow night to the QXT's club in Newark for the next Iron Garden event. And okay, come on over. We're going to be auctioning not tomorrow, but next... on the 11th. So we're bringing this in tomorrow. We're going to be auctioning this at their movie event on the 11th. So if you guys go to the Iron Garden at all, and you want a chance at snagging this for less than it probably would cost on Etsy for an auction, check out QXT's Iron Garden on the 11th. That's when we're going to be auctioning it. So it's going to be, what's that, honey?
It's a movie night.
It's a movie night. It's not a club night, so I don't know how that's going to go. Is it? Oh, that'd be really dope if there's a club afterwards. Oh, that would be awesome. I hope so. That would be really good. That would be really cool. So we'll see. Anyway, we're going to be doing that on the 11th. So, but we're going tomorrow night because we had a really good time last time. And I don't know if anybody watching this is someone who has gone to that, but if you are, hello, good to see you again. I'll be seeing you guys tomorrow. We had a lot of fun. And we were welcomed really nicely by people, and we had a good time. And it was like the first time in years that I got to go to a club. Now, I don't dance. Like, I have to get like so sloshed, and I don't really dance. And it takes a lot for me to get sloshed. So I don't really dance. I might stand there a little bit and bop to the music, but I don't dance. So it's not about that for me. It's about going and mingling and listening to the music and getting a nice buzz on, and really just enjoying like the bass and the vibes and the bumping and the thumping and the energy. And if you watch me, you'll actually see me start, you know, like just fading into it. It's good stuff. So we had a good time. We're going to be going again. And hopefully, you know, anybody who's in the area, you'll come check us out. That'd be pretty cool. So yeah, Jose, we do have an Etsy shop. It's in the Linktree link. It hasn't been getting a lot of action lately, but we also haven't been advertising it. So maybe if I advertised it more, I'd have nothing to complain about. Yeah, Scarlett's talking about Franklin Square. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you know. You know. The Almanac calls that the drunken step. Yeah, pretty much. It's like the drunken wobble. I had a friend way back in the old school days, and we used to go to Detour. And anybody on Long Island who was at all into the goth scene at all knows about Detour from back in the day. Now, actually, they started coming back, which is cool. I found them on Facebook, and apparently they're doing it like every few months. But they closed down. I don't know when, but they closed down a long time ago. And so it's been like since they closed that I've been to a club. But anybody who's from the Huntington, Long Island, New York, anywhere, you know, North Shore, Mineola, you know, all these kind of big areas where like the bars and stuff, you've heard of Detour if you're from Long Island. So if you're into that kind of stuff, unless you're too young, I guess. But there's a lot of like, you know, goth people talking about it on YouTube. It's pretty funny. So yeah, pretty cool. But oh, I had a story to tell. So I had a friend, and like none of us were good dancers. So when I'm making fun of this guy, trust me, it's like I'm making fun of myself because I was probably worse. But he used to dance, you know, and give him all power and credit to the man, because he danced like a Muppet and he was having a good time. And it was just fun, man. I miss that stuff. Hey, Jockster, no topic off the top of my head at the moment. I'll probably get into it. You know how I do. I'll get into it at some point. Damn it, Eddie, I'm gonna have to like hook you up to some stuff. Hook you up to like some chemicals and get you out. The outgoing chemicals. So yeah, I don't really have a main topic in mind, so I think we're going to open it up to questions tonight. Open it up to some questions and some things like that. I'm going to try to have a guest on either next week or the week after, or both. I might even do like a couple weeks in a row where I have some guests on. I am intending to get, let's see, Hunter Salazar says he wants to do a stream with me, and I would like to do one with him. I'm going to try to get D on again. You guys who are familiar with my streams probably know who D is. He was a cool guy from England who does a lot of tarot and a lot of astrology stuff. He's a pretty cool guy. And we're going to be getting L the Alchemist probably next week. I have to double check with him what we confirmed, but I'm thinking a week from tonight, we're probably going to have L the Alchemist on. L's like one of the most positive guys. He's so laid back. I'd love to meet him in real life. He's so chill. Yeah. So, yeah, Jose, I don't sell rituals on Etsy, mainly because, I just don't feel like Etsy's where I want to put that stuff. I probably should, because it'll handle all the details, and I don't want to give my money to PayPal anymore. For those of you guys who've been following along with current events, I'm not going to make this a current event stream. For those of you guys who've been following with current events, you know why I don't want to use PayPal. Fuck them. I'm trying to make it so like they're gonna fucking charge you for misinformation. Get the fuck out of here. Go to hell, you motherfuckers. That's all I'm gonna say. But you know, no, our Etsy's mainly for our products, which is like mirrors and little decorative things that my wife makes predominantly. I've got a few items on there from time to time. I'll decorate skulls and I'll do stuff like that. And put them up, not like real human skulls, but like resin skulls and things, and they come out really good. And you know, make a little money off them, and you know, they're good quality products. So you know, it's a lot of fun. It gives my wife something to do when she's not working. Gives me something to do from time to time. Are we into ghost hunting shows? I mean, yes and no. I have like a real soft spot in my heart for you know, a lot of that ghost hunting stuff, you know, back in the day when, I mean, it's always been like at least half fake, but like Taps was pretty cool back in the day. We used to watch that a lot, and we used to get into that a little bit. I don't remember when I finally said, fuck this shit. I think when it finally kind of got me was there was this one episode where it was obvious that they like chucked the coat hanger out of like a closet. And I was like, all right, I'm good. I'm sure you faked stuff before, but that was just so low energy fake. I was like, forget it. Yeah, Hunter's a pretty cool, I mean, he's a pretty nice guy. I think, you know, for Hunter Salazar, and I'd say this to his face, so don't worry. Hunter Salazar has had some things to say about me, but I think that was before he got to know me a little bit. I think that like he kind of like we had like a misread on each other maybe at first. So I'd like to actually talk to him and get to know him like in a live chat and really get to like get each other's energy going instead of just through text, because I think we had like a private conversation once, and like I think that, excuse me, I'm gonna fix this a little bit. I think that some of the things we said, we get along good now, like so don't get me wrong, but you know, when we first met, like we didn't quite hit it off right. And I'm glad to see that, like, you know, I'm glad to see he's doing well, and I'd like to get him on. He's an interesting guy. He's got an interesting set of stuff he does. And you know me, I like to support, I don't have to agree with them. Like, I want to make this clear. I don't agree with everybody I have on. I don't agree with EA on everything, right? And EA is like a friend of mine. You know, we haven't spoken to each other much lately, like full disclosure, but you know, I consider him like a friend, and I don't agree with everything he does. I don't agree with all of his work. I don't agree with all of his products or all this and that, but he's a good guy and it's good to have him on. And I feel like, even though I'm not like the biggest name in this industry, in this community, whatever the hell you want to call it, being something of a notable person in it, I like to help out other quality creators that, whether I agree with everything they say or not, doesn't matter. Are they a quality creator and are they drama free? The less drama, the better. I mean, everybody's going to have some drama, but the less drama, the better. And are they a quality creator? If they are, I want to hook up with you. I want to support you. Right. You know, if you've got something going, I mean, obviously if you just get started, I need to see something first. Like I need to see, it can't just be like you got one video. I need to see you got something going, you know, a couple hundred subscribers and you're doing regular videos, you know, and then let me know. I mean, I'm always willing, if you got quality stuff, I'm not saying I will do it, but I'm saying I'll look into it. I've always been eager to do that because I know that when I was first getting my YouTube stuff going, and like I said, I'm not huge, but when I was first getting this stuff going, I always appreciated when people would have me on their channels. And, you know, it's a big deal. You know, I like having people on my channel because obviously it's cross-pollinating, but I like to support, you know, other characters, you could say, other characters in the industry. It's fun. You know, even if I don't agree with everything they have on. I have a few people I'd love to get on. One of the people I'd really like to hook up with is like Travis Magus. I don't know. I have to start chatting him up again. He's always so busy and he's on his own thing. You know, he's a really, he's just a great YouTuber. If you haven't watched him, I'd love to get him on. He's like one of the few people that I've really wanted to get on that I haven't had on. And I'd love to do that, but we'll see if I can get that. We'll see if I can get that to happen. So I like to support people. Oh, Behemoth X, obviously, I'm sure he'll be in a little bit. I don't know what gives with that. You know, he doesn't do a lot of interviews and stuff, and I understand why. But he's another one. He's a generous, kind soul. He's a dark-hearted guy, but he's a generous, kind guy. And I love him to death. I've been watching him for years, and he's going to be getting some congratulations and stuff. I mean, he's got all this stuff going on with his family and stuff. So I hope it all works out well for him. I don't know if he's going to be here tonight, but if he does, make sure you give him a good warm welcome. So, but yeah. Yeah. So, but I mean, I've done some like really basic ass, like ghost hunting stuff. Mostly for me, it's like, I've tried to use the equipment. You know, like when Fleshy was here, we went to Jane's Hill and we brought with us an EMF reader. We brought a temperature gun. We brought, what was it? A ghost box. Yeah, we brought a spirit box. And honestly, like I do better when it's just me and my senses. And if you want to record me with me and my senses, that's fine. When I'm relying on equipment, it actually fucks me up a little bit, because I'm too busy trying to watch the equipment and see what it does, rather than just going with my gut and my intuition and what I feel. You know, like I'll feel a presence long before the equipment does. And yes, sometimes maybe it's just my imagination. That's fine. But I will feel something internally long before any sensor does. Usually I feel it coming and then stuff happens. When Fleshy was here, we went to Jane's Hill with this stuff and we got some interesting stuff on the EMF reader. The spirit box was like a total waste of time. The temperature gun was like a little decent, like it was fluctuating a bunch, but it was windy. And when it's really windy, you can't really trust that, because as the wind comes through, you get different temperature fluctuations. I will say the one thing about the EM reader that was a little bit like, maybe Eddie, since Eddie's here, he can tell me or not. The EMF reader that we had, it was really like within 100 yards of a cell tower. So I'm wondering if that had anything to do with it. So you can kind of let me know, Eddie, if, you know, because I know they're on different frequencies, like EMF readers used for that stuff. They're usually on a completely like low, like it's on the low end of the spectrum. But it can pick up like electrical disturbances. So, oh yeah, and it seemed to really work the best when Camilla was holding it. When I was holding it, it didn't work very well. When we put it on the ground, it didn't work very well. When she was holding it, it was like when she held it is when it worked the best. And when I say worked, we got the most readings on it. And they weren't So we did a lot of bug testing, like we'd shake it and tap it and see what, you know, do all the things you do to make sure, oh, was that just somebody vibrated it? We did all that stuff. So Eddie says, but yes, but I don't know if that means, but yes, it would interfere, or but yes, but I'm sure that's pretty sure that's what he means. Oh, now it's about your RH negative. Okay, so because you don't have rhesus monkeys in you, you're electrically conductive, I guess. I agree, Z. The human body is the best instrument for this stuff. I do like getting captures, though. There is something about when you get a good capture. You know, I've done... there's a lot of rituals that I have recorded that I can never, of course, share because they're for clients. But I do have several that are in the public record that you can watch, and there are examples of different kinds of capture during those rituals. You've got on BitChute, probably one of the coolest ones was like a fireball happens, but a lot of times you get like low level stuff. You'll get smoke doing weird things, little stuff. If you're in the room, you know that that's not like when you're in the room and this stuff's happening, you feel it, you can sense it, you can hear it sometimes, and weird stuff happens. Probably the coolest one that ever happened to me personally, though, that isn't on video, was the first time I did a ritual to King Vine. When I did that one by myself, I asked for a clear sign, a clear audible sign, and within 3 seconds of me asking and being silent, the dishes in the drying rack, maybe 20 feet away, 10, 15 feet away, just suddenly all like lurched and clanked. Like it was like clank. And it was like, nobody had touched those dishes all night. So what's up, Beam of X? I was hoping to see you. What's up, brother? Good to see you, man. I was just talking about you. I had some nice things to say. So we got to get you on for a live stream one of these days when you're not busy with all the family stuff you got going on. But I'm glad to see you, brother. I hope you're doing well. You know, there's a lot of intrigue and drama between different creators and people online, and I've genuinely always had the stance where I only talk about the ones I can say nice things about. You know, I definitely don't like to cause drama. If drama comes to find me, you know, I'll swing back, but I don't really make it a fight. Like, I'm not really interested in it. I usually say what I got to do to clear my name or whatever when there's bullshit being thrown around. But I think all this, you know, witch war drama is stupid. I've always said that. I've always felt that way. It's not that it's totally unavoidable, although I will say Behemoth X manages to do that. It's not that it's unavoidable, but it is, you know, it is something that most people engage in on purpose. And I don't engage in that on purpose. I don't look for it. I think it's stupid. I think it's pretty much wrecked this, this community of creators. I think that that's really at the heart of a big reason why EA had to get deplatformed, was there was so many people trying to undermine him and working against him and probably feeding stuff to the media, you know, insider info and stuff that could get him in trouble. You know, I really do think that. And that's just one individual. It's like every time I turn around, there's been drama going on. I think it's died down a little bit, thankfully. Like a lot of the usual suspects aren't doing it lately, I'll say, at least from what I see. Of course, I'm not going to look, you know, I'm not looking at their pages or anything, but it really seems like the big dramas died down finally. And I hope it stays that way, because that's really, you know, who's still doing regular content anymore? That's, you know, notable, you know. You got Behemoth X, but sometimes it's like, you know, what, a month between his videos sometimes. You've got me. I haven't done like a video just to do a video in a while. You got VK, but I think he's more active on TikTok, and I won't ever be active on TikTok. EA is on Odyssey, so that's really good. I'm glad to see that. It's good to have more stuff on new tech, I gotta tell you. But who else is doing? You got Travis Magus, who will probably never stop. You know, I'm so proud of him. I love seeing him go. He's blown up in his own way, and I'm so happy to see that, because he's got quality information. He's another one, you know, that's got quality. It's not that he's got like the highest production values, like Behemoth X, beautiful production values, good wisdom, good this, good that. Magus is he knows a lot. Like he is a sponge, and he's not just a memorizer. He integrates it. So I love that guy. Big ups to him. So this, I mean, I don't know. Let me know who you guys, you know, think are good or not. I mean, I don't agree with everybody that you guys think are good. I'm just gonna say that, but we'll say that, and I got reasons for that, but I'm not gonna say why. But, you know, anybody you want to give a shout out to in the chat to tell people to check out, just go ahead, you know. So exactly, Almanac. Let the sleeping dogs lie. You know, it's really dumb. I don't know what the deal was. It is like a bunch of high school drama that seems to kick off. But there are a few people that were troublemakers, and I guess they still are, but nobody hears from them anymore, or nobody cares anymore. I don't know what's going on with them. There were a few troublemakers going on for a little while, and I don't know. I guess they died down. I don't know what their deal is. Like, I'm kind of glad that they've died down. So at least I haven't seen it. So. What's up, Alexander C? Yeah, name the ones you like. Just hopefully be honest about it. Be sincere. Name the ones you like in the chat. So. Now, I will say that, all right, so there is some things that I have to say, though. Like, there are some criticisms, not directed at any particular creator or anything, but there's definitely some criticisms that I have to level at, we'll say, the community at large a little bit. And it's one of the things, like, I've got like this really weird habit where I will sort of find my people, and then I'm like the forever outsider. Like, I don't know what it is. It's like I could start my own country, be the president of that country, be the king of that country, and like not hang out in my country. Like, I'll find a reason to get pissed off at my own country. But I will say that, like, you know, you may have noticed, like, I've been saying things on social media like Facebook with a critical air lately about certain kinds of practices and things like that I don't normally do. And I think that's because I have this habit where I sort of trim the fanatics from my circle by saying objectionable things that, you know, like, it's almost like I do like a middle path thing where, you know, I find like the extremes and I tend to, like, you know, snip them. And I'll do that by saying things that I know are going to be a little bit, like, people's like, Thorne, don't you realize what you're saying is inflammatory? It's like, yes, of course I do. That's why I'm saying it. Like, sometimes I like being inflammatory because it's kind of like there's a lot of the same energy in left-hand path occultism and all that you find in any religious movement. You've got a lot of the same madness, the same fanaticism, the same dogmatism, the same doctrinalism and religiosity. And one of the things that really kind of drives me up a wall is the hypocrisy. I'm not saying I've never been a hypocrite about anything, but hypocrisy drives me nuts. I don't know if it's like part of whatever neurodivergent thing I got going on, but like liars, hypocrisy, that kind of shit really drives me like totally up a wall. And when I see people like on the left-hand path criticizing one religion, usually we know which one we're talking about, and they will do the exact same things in their own practices and spirituality and act like it's different. You know, like, one of my favorites is people will make excuses like, you know, Christianity is bad because that God doesn't answer your prayers. And then they'll go off and be like, you know, and my demons do, but not always the way I want. And it, like, they have the exact same excuses. It's the exact same excuse. It's the same religiosity. And it kind of is a big turnoff for me, you know? And that's one of the things that, like, I do like pointing out, and maybe it ruffles some feathers, and I don't mind ruffling the feathers, really. Although sometimes the people get like really mad at me personally for observations I make, but that's fine. You know, I wouldn't say these things if I expected it to make everybody happy. But the thing that people can't maybe see is that I almost always say it with an intention of positive, constructive criticism. I don't, you know, I'm not trying to offend you, but I do like to point out, you know, not personally. I don't like to go around to people say, your practice is wrong, your practice is wrong, your way is wrong. I just make general observations about things. And this is one of the reasons why I had some guy, like, you know, mocking me saying, this guy calls himself a Satanist. I've never called myself a Satanist. I've never made that claim. That's not what I've ever said. And I guess it's like, there's a lot of theism and a lot of, how do I put this? A lot of people eject from right-hand path religions, understandably so. And because they've never learned an alternative, when they join a left-hand, type of spiritual path, which to me is weird that you would join such a thing. I wouldn't join any path. Half the reason you're left-hand is because you're not joining things. People join a left-hand path, and then they become, like, they invert everything. So like they go from worshiping Jesus and Yahweh to worshiping Satan and the daemons and all this stuff. And they don't worship in a way that's liberating necessarily. They'll worship like they did when they were going to church, and they're fearfully, oh, don't you disrespect my father Satan and all this stuff. It's like, all right, look, I'm not here to jump on you and say like you shouldn't do that, but I do find it a little hypocritical. Like, to me, that hurts me. Like, if I were to do that, that would hurt my heart. It's like, I couldn't be that way. Like, there's a reason I do what I do, you know? But it's a growing process. And that's the thing. Like, when I'm sounding a little critical, I'm not being critical like these people need to stop, or I want to stop them, or anything like that. I see it as a stepping stone and a process. You know, one of the things that the demons, instead of the daemons, when you see them as demons, one of the things that the demons do is that they provide sort of a doorway out, a way out of your Christian or Jewish or Islamic or Buddhist or whatever it is that you're feeling trapped by. They offer a way out of your right-hand tradition. And when that has been utilized, there comes a point where you can fall into the same trap if you're not careful. You're just doing the same things. It's just the cross is upside down. You know, it's the same religion, but your cross is upside down. So ultimately, that's a thing that, like, I find myself, like, I guess I've been a little bitter in the last 2 years because of a lot of the things that are going on, and, you know, all the drama in the community and all of that stuff, between that and the real world stuff going on. It's just, you know, I look at this and I feel like a little deflated. Or at least I have felt a little deflated. That's been subsiding. I've finally been able to, like, put some of that stuff off. But it's been difficult, you know, it's been really difficult to maintain a motivated attitude when so much that I do, like, the nightmare for me is that the stuff I create becomes part of someone's, like, submissive religious tendencies. You know, like, if it deepens your relationship with a spirit, cool, I'm glad about that. But if now you're, like, you know, on your knees begging and worshiping a new god, like, I feel like shitty when, like, my work contributes to that. So I try to be a little bit of a dick about it, you know, to try to turn those people away, I guess. But over time, over the last couple of years, I have gone from, you know, in 2018, joining this scene as sort of a daemonolator / non-dual new ager weird guy, to, like, I've now, like, the daemons are cool and everything, but, like, as a stepping stone. I'm kind of over them for a little while. Like, I'm not working with them as much. It went from a ritual a week to a ritual a month to like a ritual every 3 months to like now it's like a ritual every, like a legit ritual, not just like a little meditation, a legit ritual, like, I don't know, once every 6 months or something to them. And where I will occasionally sit in meditation with them. I'll light a little incense. I don't consider that like a ritual, by the way. You know, and so I've done that because you can become dependent on spiritual assistance. You can become dependent on the spirits that you commune with. And there's nothing wrong with relying on spirits to help you. But there comes a point where, at least in the way I do things, you've got to graduate. And they're still your friends and they'll still be there. You can still talk to them, but you got to graduate from them. You can't just be under their wing forever, you know? And even if Lucifer is like the patron of the temple, that could change. I could be like, Lucifer, we're cool. Next week is going to be somebody else or nobody. So, yeah, let's read some comments. I see some questions popping. So if you guys got questions for me to like really go on, like, let me know. Because I do need some topics to talk about because I don't have any in mind at the moment. So let's see. I saw a question. Where'd it go? Is it Alec? Okay, Alec Woods. Will any spirit truly damn you if you work with them? Well, Alec, I am not a theist. And I'm not an atheist either. I am actually neither. I transcend both atheism and theism. My worldview is a non-dualist, primarily. And when I say non-dualist, I mean that in the broadest sense of the term. I don't belong to any specific tradition of non-duality. I'm not specifically an Advaitin. I'm not necessarily a Neoplatonist and all that. So I'm not theistic and I'm not atheistic. I do recognize that just as you and I exist, there are spiritual entities that you can encounter that can, to some people, they're just internal manifestations of the imagination. To other people, they're legitimate entities that exist in some other dimension of understanding. That those are both projections. The way I understand it, okay, comes from this non-dualistic perspective where all is the same divine, and that divine projects into consciousness, into itself, experiences which manifest in the appearance of these things. But that's not what they really are. So when you encounter, say, Lucifer, you may encounter a fully embodied, spiritually sentient, self-aware entity. But that entity, just like you, is ultimately a mask for the non-dual divine it. That it is everything. And that it plays at being us, it plays at being other things. Now, some people would say that's like theism, but non-dualistic or pantheistic deism. I don't care what you want to call it. For me to be a theist means I have to see that there is like a God, like a personified God. To me, theism requires personification. Okay. So I do not, it's not a matter of belief for me. Because for me, it comes from an awakening, a realization of non-dual reality. Meaning everything else that I talk about besides non-duality is all a thematic overlay. It's a thematic overlay I live. It's not role playing. I don't mean it like that, but it's a thematic overlay. Like, to me, this bottle's a thematic overlay. Okay, that may not make sense to you unless you know my philosophy really well. Everything's like a thematic overlay for a noumenal non-dual reality. Everything's a mask for this higher reality. So these beings are masks for that. And they're masks for specific archetypes and what I call enigmas of that higher reality. And so you'll see them, a rational skeptic will see them as your imagination, and a believer will see them as a real spirit. And someone like me sees them a little bit sort of like they can come on as either one. And I don't make any effort to believe in them. And I don't make any effort to to decide like, oh, if it doesn't come through this way, it's not real. Or if it comes through this way, it is real. To me, it doesn't matter which way it comes. If I experience Lucifer as just a figment of my imagination, I treat that just as validly as if I would if the door of my ritual chamber opened and this dude walks in with wings. I would treat it well, I'd probably shit myself more for the second one, of course, but I would treat it the same in terms of how seriously I take the information. Okay, when I am in a deep trance and I'm visualizing and doing all those things, it doesn't matter to me if it's in my imagination or not, because I understand that this entire reality is in my imagination. Everything that I take for granted as real is something that I am hallucinating into reality right now. It has a divine source. It does exist. But it is a hallucinatory figment sort of overlaying things. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I think they are. It just matters how I interact with them. Alec, I can't repeat all that, brother. I apologize, man. I don't even know what I said. Like, anybody who knows me knows I have a little bit of ADD. And as I learned a new word. We don't have any object permanence when you have a little bit of ADD. So I have no idea what I just said. You're going to have to rewind it. But I apologize, brother. That really sucks that your Wi-Fi went out. That really fucking sucks. Don't worry, it's all recorded. It'll stay here. You can just rewind it in a couple minutes. So that's why I'm not giving you just a straight yes or no answer. Because I could say no, you don't have to worry about them sending you to hell. But the reality is you may put yourself in hell as the divine. As the divine, you may put yourself in hell. You may send yourself to hell because that's an assumption. Look, you can send yourself to hell right now, right? Just go out there and go do something stupid. You can put yourself in hell. Go put yourself in a situation you hate. It's the same thing. Okay, you can live in hell while you're incarnated or it doesn't matter. What you're going to find, if you're a beginner, here's my advice to you, Alec. You're doing the right thing asking questions. Here's my advice to you. Imagine everything you think you know. Yes, yes, Alex. So we are the God of ourselves. Kind of, yes. The problem with saying that is there's a lot of baggage with the word God. And that's what I was getting at, is if you're a beginner, my advice to you is to take the slate of everything you know and just clear it. Like, imagine it's a big table full of everything you believe or things you've been taught or things you think you know. Take all of that and just push it off the table and start with a clean slate and start with the most fundamental things you can imagine trying to figure out. What I mean by that is there is a question that you've got to answer before you can ask any others. That question is this even real? You've got to figure out, is this real? Am I real? Do I exist? Does this exist? Does that exist? You've got to come to terms with that, because this is something we gloss over all the time. We live our lives in a way where we reify our experiences and take them for granted that they're real. And yet every philosopher in the world will tell you that we've got a problem with that. That you can't prove that. So if you can't prove that, you've got something you've got to do. You've got to figure out if you're okay with that. You got to figure out what that means. If you can't prove that you're real, if you can't prove that you exist as this person you think you do, you've got to figure out what it is that you are. When you, the answer is very simple. When you excise everything that you know you're not, when you negate everything that is an illusion, the only thing that's left is what you are. And you know what that is? Pure consciousness. This idea of you being Alec or me being D.H. Thorne or some other character, that's just a mask we're wearing. The thing you are is pure consciousness without a history, without a name. It's literally just awareness itself, aware of itself. That's it. That's all you are, is awareness aware of itself. Now, that awareness aware of itself isn't just some nebulous thought, okay? All of those thoughts are something that awareness is experiencing within itself. You're this great formless thing. You're a being without a shape. You're an existence without a body. And this body is something within that bodilessness that you've focused on and come to take for granted as you. But it's a projection. Now, this may sound like idealism. I'm not an idealist and I'm not a materialist. I'm a non-dualist. To me, idealism and materialism are opposite sides of the same coin. They're the same silver said two different ways, or two aspects of the same thing. Materialism is the substance. Idealism is the form. Form and substance become the illusion of reality. So Alex says, other spirits have jurisdiction over us. No, they don't. No, they don't. Even your Bible, Christians will tell you spirits only have power over you that you give them because God gave you power over all the spirits. So if you're a Christian, you already know. You already know this. No spirit has authority over you. None. Spirits are forms. Spirits are the forms things take, but they're not the thing. Yeah, The Matrix was great, dude. Doc, you're right. The Matrix was awesome. Because The Matrix was basically based on a couple of things. Yes, it wasn't just one thing, but a lot of people point to Gnosticism, and it was an allegory of Gnosticism for sure. And Gnosticism is an offshoot of Neoplatonism, and Neoplatonism is a form of monism, and monism is like very close kissing cousins of non-dualism. Like they would hang out at the same bar and buy each other drinks, okay, for the most part, at least from the very pure reading of their philosophies. They're like two different people seeing the same truth and finding different ways to say it. Yeah, Doc, that's right. You sound like Chaos from Greek mythos got reincarnated. That is, dude, I like that. That is, if you're talking about me, I'll own that. I love that. Chaos is my favorite primordial, dude. Absolutely. Because chaos, again, I've talked about this a lot. Chaos is in the original context. Chaos is the formless void. You just said it. Bravo. Chaos is basically a formless, massive void of primordial oblivion. Well, that is what the divine is. But this world of form and substance we see is a subset. So let's do a quick little intellectual thought experiment. I've said this before on this stream a bunch of times, so let's do it again. Everybody has a concept of infinity, right? Everybody knows what infinity is? The concept of infinity is an irrational concept, meaning it has no boundary, no border, no edge, no definable value. It is infinite. There is no number you can assign to it because all numbers fit in it, right? You can have bigger infinities and smaller infinities, but infinity is infinity, right? So yes, you can have bigger infinities and smaller ones in math. We know this. But the concept of infinity is also the concept of the original version of chaos, the way what it used to mean. Not chaos as in like you take a deck of cards and throw them everywhere. Oh, that's chaos everywhere. Chaos's original meaning is the word gap, the abyss, the emptiness, the nothingness. When they were saying nothing, they weren't talking about literal nothingness, like as in there's nothing there that exists. They're talking about nothing identifiable. They're talking about no thingness. The gap is not a gap of literal non-existence. It's a gap of identifiable existence. It's so when you think of infinity, you think of nothing because there's nothing you can imagine that's infinite. So if you think of infinity, there's like two different things you might think of. Like if you're thinking of like you're zooming out and there's galaxies and universes and stuff, that's not infinity. That's a subset of infinity. That's a little piece of infinity. You can't picture infinity. It's too big. So when you try, you either see this gradual expansion of stuff, or you see nothing at all. So if you try to think of everything all at once, so if you try to imagine the entire infinity of the universe all at the same time from beginning to end, it's a big nothing. You would see nothing because it would all collapse in on itself. It's like seeing all the light, you know, all the colors of a rainbow at once become blinding white light. You can't see. It's like hearing all the sound at once. It becomes deafness. You can't hear. So what you're witnessing right now, Alec, in this, what you think of as real, is just a very tiny subset of infinity. And you're not even seeing that subset of infinity. You're seeing that subset of infinity through a very long pole, because you're like a blind person poking reality with a stick, and your senses is that stick. You're not actually encountering reality. You're encountering what your brain's going through. Consciousness is observing whatever this brain thing is, but you're not a brain. The brain is just the thing it's experiencing right now. And the brain doesn't even really exist outside of an idea. When you walk your way back from what you think is real to what you can prove exists, all that's left is that void of consciousness. That's chaos. That's primordial chaos. That's what they're talking about. It's a little difficult because we have the mythology that screws us up. And when I see your other comments, they're rooted in the mythology, not in what the mythology was meant to teach you. And I'm not saying that like I'm judging you or like maybe you didn't mean it that way, but that's usually what people are doing. When people are talking about Azazel and different spirits and their black flame and all this other stuff, you're treating that stuff as if it's real when it's no more real than this cup or this bottle or whatever. These are all illusory things. You can make them whatever you want. You can call it the pink purple Smurf machine. How do I activate my big purple Smurf machine? Oh, I got to do this ritual. You can do whatever you want, because the ultimate goal here is to transcend the illusion, and then you can use the illusion any way you want. If you want to work with the black flame, you can work with the black flame. If you want to work with Azazel, you can. You can work with Jesus and Azazel at the same time. I know that will piss off theists and go, no, you can't. They'll fight. They don't get along. Okay, sure, whatever. In my ritual chamber, they better. That's all I'm going to say. They better. Let's see. So we all have a chunk of chaos within. There is no within. There is no without. The idea of a within and without is part of the delusion that makes you think you exist. When you transcend all of this, when you do transcendental meditation, when you have ego death, okay, when you encounter these things, that sense of self as a limited chunk of something just goes away. And there is no self, like as in alienated from an other. That it's all the self, it's all the other, it's all the same thing. The idea of self goes out the window. It's all just existence. There's consciousness, and that's it. That's not easy for people. That's really not an easy thing. Because for a lot of people, that's basically no different than death, right? That's why they call it ego death. And it's not that you're supposed to be that way, by the way. A lot of people go like, oh, you need to be dead, or you need to have your ego death. No, you don't, you're not supposed to be like existing without an ego or something. That's just how you witness. That's how you realize it, is when you experience an ego death moment. When there is ego death, I shouldn't even say when you experience it. Language sucks because you don't experience it. When ego death occurs, you are released from the illusion of being a mortal being at all, of being a singular self at all. And you become fully just present. Can you tell your ego to die and it'll do it? Who's the one telling it to die? Who's telling it to die? Find out who that person is, and you'll have your answer. Jordan says, if we are just masters of the universe, why are some daemons more powerful than others? Shouldn't we all be equal if we are the mask of the same source? So most of the things you're describing there are illusory parts of being existing in a mortal state right now. Mortals are beings which are imbued with an egoistic habit where they believe that they have power over things and things have power over them. The concept of power to a mortal being is real. But in truth, there is no such thing as power. The reason there is no such thing as power is because if it is all one, then there's nothing for it to be in conflict with. There is nothing for it to overpower. When you do this, are you overpowering your finger? No, of course not. Your finger and you are cooperating to cause something to become manifested. You get to witness it doing that. So this idea of conflict is an illusion. It looks like conflict because you'll be like, oh, was that conflict? Well, let's examine this carefully. If I want to clap my hands, don't they have to be in conflict with each other? If they're not in conflict, do they clap? Wouldn't they just pass through each other or something? So there has to be a conflict, right? But are they not cooperating to cause a clap? So how is that a conflict? They're cooperating to clap. They're not in conflict with each other. So on the level that you're experiencing reality, you can feel like you've got power, and you can feel like one demon or spirit or daemon or angel or God has power over you or over other things. But that's the illusion of conflict that makes this seem real. When you transcend that through various practices that can cause you to have what the Gnostics would call gnosis, what a Advaitin would call samadhi, what a Zen monk would call Zen or a Satori. When you've experienced those things, this idea of conflict goes completely out the window. You realize there is no conflict. There's just the illusion of conflict. Yes, in your mortal state, you still look at the world and go, I better get out of that way of that oncoming car. But in the ultimate understanding, you know that if that car runs you over, nothing really happened. That's just something you experienced. And the you that you really are is that formlessness, that the divine, okay? What some would call God or Brahman or chaos or whatever you want to call it. That's what you really are. So when this goes kaputnik, you don't really go anywhere. And if you're still attached to the story of this person that you think you are, then that makes it hard to move on, doesn't it? If you're like, oh, I am this and nothing else, then that idea of dying is terrifying. So people who live in a really mortal state, like they're really materialistic and think, oh, this is all I am. When they die, there's really a lot more trauma because they're really attached to that, or they've learned to let go of that. It's possible that does happen too. They might be nihilistic and be like, this doesn't matter. Well, what about when someone is spiritual and they believe that this is not who they are, but the spirit is who they are? Then you must be pretty upset because that spirit's been changing a lot. It's already died a bunch of times. The person you were when you were like 10 is not the person you are now. Okay, especially if you're like me and you're in your 40s. That 10-year-old died like 3 times already. Like that 10-year-old's been dead a long time. It does not exist anymore. Whatever soul or spirit that was is not who I am now. Right? As a mortal being, that D.H. Thorne is not Daniel the 10-year-old. Not the same being. It's the same being, but it's not the same identity, is it? It's not the same spirit. Everything that your spirit is, the identity, changes and is lost with time. It's like a river flowing. You'll never stand in the same river twice. You'll never be the same person twice. Something about you is always different. So attachment really means you don't want things to change. You want to be this guy forever. You want to play this character forever. The problem is that being this character forever without any option of destruction, death, or disappearance, there's a problem with that. That means there's no meaning to anything. That means that there's no point to anything. That means that imagine, for example, like anybody who's in your 40s or 50s or 60s, you kind of know what I mean if somebody says, imagine 1,000 years like this. Imagine another 1,000 years, just like the last 40, 50, or 60. Think about who you were when you were 4 years old, if you're in your 40s or 50s, or even if you're in your 30s. How much do you remember about that person? How about when you were 10? How about when you were 20? Probably not much, not as much as you think. I mean, yeah, if you got ADD, you got less object permanence, so you really don't remember. But even if you do remember, so you're not permanently any of these things. Those things come and go. The ego wants it to stay forever. The ego's a habit. It's not a real thing. It's a habit. And it's not a bad thing. Like I see Almanac 13 saying very wisely, ego is a part of you. It's your friend and enemy if you let it. Ego hates to be wrong. Ego is not your, like, you know, it can be either one, but it's not something you're supposed to be rid of. You're supposed to transcend it if you can. But when I say you're supposed to, I'm saying if you're on a certain path, you're supposed to. If you're not on that path, then ego is what you're supposed to be doing. You know, ego is not a curse. It's not a trap. It's not a sin. It's not a bad thing. Ego is simply what you're experiencing right now. And eventually ego will be transcended, whether you want it to be or not. Look, you're going to be laying there on your deathbed someday. And when the ego and you are finally ready to part ways, you won't even miss it. Well, that's just it, Jordan. Jordan asks, who are we truly? You say the source, but what is that? Exactly. Who's asking? Why do you need it to have an identity? I guess is what my response would be. That's not a smart-ass response. It's, why do you need it to have a personality or a persona identity? Existence is what you are. Pure consciousness existing. That's what you are. You are formless. You are nameless. You are identityless. You are a being that is not a person. The person is a thing that is what it's acting like right now. So let me put it to you like this, okay? When you go to sleep tonight and you have a dream, are you that person you're dreaming about? Or is that person you're dreaming about something you're just dreaming about? The person that you're dreaming about is not who you are. So who are you? Okay, well, I'm the person who went to bed. Okay, fair enough. Who is that? Who is that person that went to sleep? Well, he's this person who lived that day. Okay, so you lived that day before that. Okay. And who was that? Well, that was the person who lived this week. That was the person who lived this year. That's the person who lived this lifetime. What you don't maybe realize is that this person you think you are when you go to sleep tonight is just an aggregate of a bunch of stories and memories that you have. And memories are just a special kind of thought. It's just an aggregate of a bunch of stories that you are associating with this. And when you walk all the way back from that, you were nothing in the beginning and you'll be nothing again. So you're the great nothing dreaming, and that nothing is not literal nothingness. It means no thingness. You are the nothing dreaming. Oh, look, there's someone in the chat acting like some kind of a lunatic talking about how we'll bow down to death. Phil, tell us all about it. Tell us all about how we're all fools and are going to die and Lilith is coming for us. I'll ask Lilith whether any of that matters. That's fine. You better plead and cry. Oh! Okay, Phil. Whatever you say. Please say something rude so I can block you. I met death, my friend. I don't think we're friends the way you're talking. Sounds like you're being a troll. Ask the Spider Queen. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Jordan says, my ego is trying to give the source an ego, but the source is not ego, so I can't title it. Alexander C says popcorn. I'm not in the mood to finagle with trolls tonight. We'll just see how this person goes. Phil, you sound like a Christian. You know that? You sound like a Christian right now. Are you going to start telling me that Jesus is going to, like, send me to hell? You sound like a Christian, my friend. I don't know, Phil. It's like you're coming in here like hitting us with all this Lilith stuff, like we're all gonna die and we're all gonna beg. I don't know. Maybe I'm misreading you, brother. If you're not trying to be rude, forgive me for misreading you because it is text. So, check out IG. I don't know what that is. You mean Instagram or something? I don't know. Maybe Phil's just speaking his mind. That's fine. Eddie gets headbats. Oh, he's playing. All right, Phil, no problem. I don't know what you're doing, brother. I got it. You know, I'm sure if you've been watching me a while, you know sometimes we get some tunes on here that say some weird shit. So, forgive me if I'm misreading you. I don't mean to misread you. I am putting on a show here, so when a troll shows up, I like to troll them back. So if you're not being a troll, then forgive me. Lilith would smack my face. Okay, that I do agree. That probably, yeah, Lilith don't like it when people speak for her. Why do you think I said I'll go ask her? That's why. Oh, okay, dude. Don't worry about it. If you're just tweaking, dude, just enjoy, man. Dude, don't worry about it. Totally don't worry about it. Totally don't worry about it, man. I actually enjoy that when people are just having fun. It's all good then. No problems, man. That is just a good fucking bit of comedy. Yeah, Doc, a true Christian, they don't really, no, you're right. A true Christian doesn't threaten hellfire and brimstone. You're exactly right. I actually don't really have a problem with, so Christianity, there are forms of Christianity that exist that I am very friendly with. I've got absolutely no beef with Christianity as a broad term, I guess. What I have a problem with is Christianity, the religion, and like the Bible thumping fundamentalists, and you know, the judges, and the theistic superstitious Looney Tunes. That kind of stuff I got beef with, but only from the self-defense perspective. Like, I don't do as thou will, my friend. If you want to believe that Jesus is gonna judge the world, go for it. But if that causes you to go down a path of action where you're hurting people and you're telling people what they're supposed to think, like, it's one thing to speak your mind about it. Like, I do that. I'll be like, hey, this is what I think. You should try it. That's one thing. But to go like, oh, you're not allowed to say otherwise, like, that's, you know, you're going too far. So those kind of Christians, those are the kinds of things that I stand against, right? So I'm not against Christianity. I know a lot of good Christians that are non-judgmental people. They're just spiritual people who believe in Jesus, and they've got good reason to do that. And honestly, like, this is one of the things I don't like about some of the community that I'm in, is that they engage in stuff that like Doc just said no true Christian would do that. Well, we got people like doing that in the LHP side of things. Like, they're sitting there and just tribalizing everything and saying, oh, if you're a Christian at all, you're my enemy. And I actually ran into that, like, you know, some of my politics, because I am pro certain, you know, how do I put this without it sounding the wrong way? Because I endorse certain candidates occasionally, or because I have certain political views or current events views, people will go like, oh, well, the Christians like that person, the Christians like them, they're all Christians. How dare you? You're not, Satan is mad at you now. And it's like, all right, fine. Let Satan come and talk to me then. I don't need to hear it from you. All right. Trust me. I'll go put my dime in the telephone. I'll get him to tell me directly. So don't even worry about it. But to me, it's all masks for the same thing. And you work with the mask that resonates with you best. If your way of looking at the divine is to see Jesus, I am not here to tell you to stop doing that. Okay? In a lot of ways, Jesus and Lucifer are a lot alike. to the point where one could argue that they're inspired by the same fundamental archetype. They were both rebels in their time. They both were teaching a very similar kind of concept. Not the way the Christian church does it. I'm talking about the apocryphal version of Jesus, by the way. I'm not talking about the Catholic version of Jesus or the Bible thumper Protestant type. I'm talking about like the Gnostic, the apocryphal Jesus. A lot more like a Buddha, a Krishna, a Lucifer, a Prometheus in so many ways. It's a very, it's an echo of the same, it's like a different face of the same archetype. And that pisses people off. That pisses off Satanists. That pisses off Christians. But if you're willing, if you step back, if you read these things as just literary fiction, you'll go, yeah, they're kind of the same kind of characters. Just one's like a bitter version and one's a happy version. There's a lot of things in there. So to the point where Christians will actually say, well, that's because Lucifer copied Jesus so that people would fall for him. I'm not making this up. I used to go to church all the time. I remember what they used to say. The devil will act like God. The devil will masquerade as Jesus. Lucifer looks like the brother of Jesus because he's trying to copy, and it's like, come on. Just like the devil put the dinosaur bones in the ground to trick us all. Same shit. Exactly, Jordan. Christmas ain't even Christian. Christmas ain't even Christian. There's like literally nothing in there. At least the way most people practice it. Give gift now. That's right, Almanac. So yeah, I mean, I guess I'm too busy enjoying life, practicing what I practice, researching what I research, doing what I do, to go around telling other people that their religion is bad. I can criticize the religion, but I'm not going to go. It's not my mission to make your beliefs my enemy. Never has been. Pine tree worship for the win. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I'm sort of in one of those I don't have a lot to say moods tonight. Like I'm just kind of vibing. I should probably grab my my vape. I will say the thing with trees is cool. Like if you go back to ancient Sumeria, you know, their thing was cedars, right? To them, the cedar was the most sacred tree. Yeah. All right, let's see. Just give me 1 second, guys. I need to check something here. Let's see. Okay. Phil asks, have you worked with Belial? Yes, I have. I did a video doing a review of him. Belial is a spirit, like, so I don't, like right now, I've sort of moved on from working with a lot of that stuff. I've moved away from many of those demonic influences, not leaving them behind forever. Just, I've sort of, like, you guys stay over there for a while. I'm sort of processing. Like, if you're doing this right, in my opinion, you'll see a lot of people, when they're doing it right, they need time away. They need time away from their practice. They need time to integrate the things that they learn and discover. And if you're like me, you don't want to become a worshiper of something. You want to see them as guides to the higher self. Okay. And they will teach you things about magic, about sorcery, about the universe, about this and life lessons, self-help, you know, how to do things. I mean, I don't know who said they are like action figures, but that's actually really good. If you're saying it what I think you're saying, yeah, that's a pretty good analogy. You know, their spirits can be really powerful ways to project your intentions through. There's so many ways that spirits are important. But one of the things you don't want to do is become a worshiper and end up, you know, it's one thing if you're doing it for joy, just for the love of it. Like, you know, I love martial arts. I always come back to martial arts. I think Lucifer is one of my favorite entities to work with. I seem to always come back around to a Lucifer or Lovecraftian or shadow people. There's some that I always come back to, but I don't worship them. I don't make them like my religion. They're just friends that I call in the ritual phone every now and then. And only when I really feel like I'm supposed to or have to or want to. It's not because it's Sunday, it's time to do the worship. It's because this is a good time for it. I could use their advice. I'm willing to put away my assumptions and listen. You know, something like that. So Belial was an interesting one because I didn't set out to work with him. He just kind of showed up, and he showed up in a way that was like, he kind of put me in my place in a way because I was being a little cowardly about it. Because when I first learned about him, I learned that he was a right bastard and this and that. And whenever he works with you, things are about to get fucked up because he's represented by the Tower card, like in my opinion. Like that's, if we're talking about the tarot, Belial is the tarot card, but he is like invoking the tarot, the Tower card into your life on purpose. So working with him is like, it's definitely hard mode for a lot of things. But in the end, it makes you so much stronger. You know, he is definitely the School of Hard Knocks character. So he came to me, and I did a video about this in a way that was sort of revealing to me that I was being a little bit cowardly going against my tattoo, Fear is the Mind Killer. I was being not cowardly, but like, oh, I don't want to work with that. I don't want to have a bad day. Yeah, no, you're going to have a bad day when I tell you you're going to have a bad day, says the universe, which is you, by the way. So, Belial actually never came to me. Belial was another one where he was kind of formless. It was more of just a voice in my mind's eye. And another time he came to me as the Chariot with the two drivers, which was pretty interesting. But yeah, he is blunt, Phil. You got that right. He's very blunt. I agree with that. Totally blunt. And, you know, at some point I have to kind of look at these entities as if I'm kind of, I don't want to say done with them, but like it's time for me to move on from them for a little while. Just like I moved on from other people and things that I study and things. It's all in its season, right? Everything's got a season to it. And there's times, I think someone up above said, who was it? He said a good comment. Yeah, Murdered Son. I like to flip through systems and integrate them into the incarnation of my higher self. I'm kind of similar, maybe not quite so mechanistic in my mind about it. I just do that because I'm a autodidactic ADHD scanner type. I teach myself everything and I get bored with stuff and I move on. So, you know, I'll spend a few weeks researching this system and that spirit and that spirit and this thing and that thing. And then I'm bored with all that and I got to play a video game for a while and I'm all over the place. So like when people like go, Thorne seems to have an answer for everything. That's because of, I guess, my ADHD, I guess. And it makes me just constantly looking stuff up to learn. And I'm bored all the time of like I'm not saying I'm bored doing nothing because I totally enjoy sitting in quiet meditation, but I do get like, what does this mean? What does that mean? Let me look this up. Let me look that up. How's that relationship? How's that spirit? How does one tie your shoes this way? How do you reload shotgun shells? I mean, I look up everything. I tend to be a sponge like that. Osmodee is badass. The thing about Osmodee is he's jealous. Jordan says, I asked to work with him, meaning Belial, and he gave me a big no, but it's probably for the best. I worked with Osmodee shortly after. In my experience, Asmodee or Asmodeus, Ashmedeva, very, very, very possessive. Very possessive. 09 Arts. I don't know if that's supposed to be like Order of Nine Angle Arts. 09 Arts. Hello, can you recommend a spirit for discipline and removing bad habit in your life? Definitely Belial. We were just talking about Belial. I don't know if you heard all that, but that's what most people are going to tell you. Belial's probably going to be, if you want the harsh master, that's who you want, is Belial. Lucifer is always a good choice for anything like that, because you're talking about, so Lucifer is one of the quintessential shadow work entities. Probably a reason why he's one of my favorites, because shadows are one of my things. And of course you could work with shadow people for working on something like that. However, shadow people is literally everything spiritual on hard mode. I would say it is the most dangerous way to work with your shadow, not to be done by the faint of heart or the beginner. You've got to already have done a lot of shadow work and use the shadow people as like your final exam. Okay. So don't start there. So I'm going to say Belial, Lucifer, good examples. Let's see, not in the demonic current. Who would I go with? Any god of war like Ares, Mars, Athena, they're all good with discipline. Anything that's like a martial spirit, very good for that. Anything. Murdered Son is recommending Kali. Okay. I could see that. Probably Shiva too. I mean, Shiva destroying the illusions that cause the habits, Oh yeah, Asmodee. So Asmodee's lore. If you look up Ashmedeva's lore, I mean, he's kind of a right bastard in the Book of Tobit, but you can see, if you're being more generous and not coming at it from like that Judeo-Christian line, if you look at him more from a neutral perspective, he's not so negative. He is very loving, but he is very possessive. When I say possessive, I don't mean he's going to possess you. I mean, he doesn't like to share you. He really will like it when you dedicate to him and don't go off. I'm not saying you can't work with multiple spirits in him at the same time. It's just in my experience with him, when I work with him, he likes to work with me, and he'll choose who to work with, if anyone. Lilith is fine. Like he doesn't mind. Like him and Lilith get along good, but I find that Asmodee is like very jealous. It's built into his lore too. So it's not easy to work with both at the same time, like more than one. So if you were going to work with Asmodee, dedicate like a month or two to him exclusively. He'll really appreciate that. When I did a dedication to him, I had to do the same thing. I had to spend a little time with just him. And there's a reason why he's got one of my coolest idols, right? I don't work with him that much lately, but he's got one of my coolest idols. Yeah, thank you, Jordan. I'm good. Thank you for the validation. Yeah, I mean, you'll find that it'll manifest a little differently for everybody. Jordan says, I was working with Lucifer before him, and when I came in contact with him, I stopped wanting to connect with Lucifer, which makes sense now that you bring that up. So it may manifest differently for different people. Some people will just get bored or not work with other spirits. They'll feel like they want to just work with him. But others will have like sort of negative interactions if they don't dedicate. So, yeah. And my wife says, Leviathan is good for emotional aspects, bad habits, much like Belial. Yeah, but Leviathan, in my experience, as good as that is, there can be a lot of negative feedback in the sense that you kind of have to keep going with Leviathan. Like Leviathan sets you on a path of integration, and if you let it go, you can come crashing back. So don't forget, Leviathan represents the unseen currents, and if you're not constantly, like, that's another great shadow work spirit is Leviathan. Absolutely. Let's see. BB Rose asks, have you used the deck with all the Goetia spirits? I think it's called Occult Tarot, and if so, would you recommend it? Here's my thinking on the tarot, okay? The tarot, there's a theory which I think is true, that it's really the Torah. It's really, you know, the letters of the Hebrew alphabet and their meanings extrapolated through the 4 elements as well, which is all Kabbalistic stuff. And if you're going to use the tarot, using something that respects the source the best is probably going to work the best. That doesn't mean that the others don't work well or you can't use them. But working with a tarot deck that is really aligned with what they're supposed to, when I say what they're supposed to mean, I mean on a deep mystical level, not in like a material level. The major arcana is like a path of initiation. The minors are how each one of those different steps in the path manifests through the elements in everyday life. You know, when you're talking about like the magician card and the first card of each suit, you're talking about beginnings, initiations, and the purest form of that thing. You know, when you're talking about the 2 of anything, you're talking about crossroads, choices, things like that. And and this pattern follows. So it kind of doesn't matter what form the cards take. I don't think that it matters if they're the original Rider-Waite's or anything else, but what I would say is that whatever they are, they really need to contain the symbolism of what they mean. Now, this could be expressed in a whole bunch of ways. You have like the deck that Crowley come up with that has the artwork by what's her name, the Thoth deck, however you like to say it. I like to say Thoth, the Thoth deck. That thing's so full of symbolism that it's a little bit too dense. Most people shouldn't start there. I personally like Anna Kay's tarot because she's sort of taken the original imagery of the Rider-Waite's and redone them in a way that's more expressive, especially towards the subtext of emotion on people's faces and things, that really helps bring to me, someone who reads, you know, people's emotions, really brings it to the front, and I can really read the cards. Like, I don't need to know what they think they mean. So you got to work with them, what their mystical meanings are and what they really do represent. Now, can a tarot card working with the Goetia do that? Of course it can. It's just, my problem is that most people who create tarot decks, they're artists first, maybe they're tarot people second. And a lot of the times they just do the major arcana with special art and the rest are just numbers and crap. Now, why do I say that the cards matter, like what they look like? Because when you're reading your, oh God, he did the uwu thing with the Thoth, with the Toth thing. I love that meme. I'm glad somebody else remembers that. Because when you're doing a tarot reading, it's not about specifically just the card. It's about what the card depicts and your ability to scry that card. So when you pull a tarot card and you're looking at it, like when you do a spread, it's not just the fact that you've got a 5 of wands or a this or a that. You're supposed to look at the artwork on the card. The artwork on the card is supposed to be invocative or evocative of the meaning of the card, and you're supposed to scry the card. You're supposed to look at the card and see what pops out at you and becomes even more meaning. You know, maybe you're reading the cards and you draw like, you know, I don't know, Queen of Swords or something. You're like, cold-hearted bitch, right? The cold-hearted bitch, the calculating bitch card. And you notice, like, in your version of the cards, she's holding a sword and there's like 9 trees in the background. Maybe those trees mean something. You know, you might cue in on something on the card. So that's one of the reasons why having different decks can be a good thing. It's just people can go overboard, in my opinion. Lately, I've been getting into I Ching. Like, to me, I've actually replaced almost all my divination with I Ching. I Ching's easy. You're not expected to memorize anything or know anything. You're literally just supposed to trust Master Yi and read this stuff and do it in a way that is just way more conducive to the way I like to do divination. It's not about, you know, yes or no questions. It's not about fortune telling. It's about advice on a situation. And I really like that. To me, like, I'm probably going to start offering maybe professional readings of I Ching at some point down the line. Not too long from now. I'm getting there to where I feel confident that I can do it. And the beauty of I Ching is all you need is 3 coins in a book. Any 3 coins will do. And you can do it with sticks. You can do it with Yarrow sticks. I think it was Yarrow. Pretty sure it's Yarrow. I like the 3 coins method because you can carry it around anywhere. It's really easy. But don't you, like, I made a mistake. I think I have it over here. Yeah, here it is. I made a mistake and I bought this I Ching kit. And it's like, it's garbage, man. I'll tell you why it's garbage, okay? It's a pretty set. Everything was nice. It gives you 3 cheap-ass little coins. Like, I don't care about that. But I was hoping that this set would be basically like a good version of like the books, because it's like, oh, it comes with these cards with all the different meanings on it. And this is like very paper thin compared to what the book has. I don't mean this book. I mean the actual, you know, actual I Ching. Like, just to give you an example. So I am not recommending this book is what I'm getting at, or this set. I don't recommend this at all. So they give you this set and it's got 3 coins and it's got a whole set of cards, like shortcut cards, and then a little booklet that's not even, it doesn't have anything extra in it. It's just instructions or whatever. So this is the first hexagram, right? And it's got the hexagram and a little blurb and a little blurb, okay? And that little blurb is a summary of what is in the actual book. And what is in the actual book isn't just this page of stuff. You also have the changing lines explained. So when you have a changing line, you got to also read the changing lines. Now, there are some traditions that don't do that. If you go to Japan, there's Japanese traditions where they don't do changing lines. They do it differently. They don't have changing lines. So I suppose that's fine. Because there's technically no wrong way to do the I Ching. If you look it up, there's no wrong way to do it. You can do it any way you want. You can even just randomly pick a number and use that as your hexagram. So there's no wrong way to do I Ching. That's one of the things I like about it. But in my opinion, having worked with this and a couple other styles in a few months, I guess I'm a sucker for the old ways, but just using this basic, this is all you need. Buy this book and then use some change out of your pocket and you're good. And it's a very short book. There's not much reading to do. You can get started literally in 2 minutes and start doing readings with I Ching. And really the artistry, the divination part doesn't come with just doing the coin tosses and getting answers. It's reading the answers and applying them and understanding how they fit the situation. This is why a good I Ching person, in my opinion, doesn't just tell you what this is saying, it then interprets it in your situation. But I Ching is, to me, maybe it's just because I tend to be a fan of anything Jung was a fan of, and I don't know that much about Jung. He loved the I Ching, and probably for the same reason. Yeah, Phil says, I remember evoking her and Lucifer both, meaning Lilith and Lucifer, not knowing that a composite was formed. The creation of those entities is so powerful. In my experience, now Eddie's more of he's going to have a different opinion. He and I talk a lot about this. He's more of a Asmodee, Samael, Asmodee/Samael, Lilith. I'm more of a Lucifer Lilith. Like, to me, they're not like mommy and daddy. I don't see it quite that way, but they are basically the same archetype in a more masculine and a more feminine style. And there's some overlap. There's a little bit of So basically, if you're looking for a female Luciferian archetype, that's Lilith. If you're looking for a masculine one, that's Lucifer. And there is some overlap because we'll just say that they get up to some stuff. Yeah, Eddie, I don't know about that. Like, I'm sure that there's different traditions depending upon where you go with I Ching. I Ching's like, what, 2,000-3,000 years old? I'm sure that there's different traditions that say different things. I nowhere have I seen that that's like a real rule. I'm sure there is a tradition that says that the Yarrow's got to be from where you were born. Look, I mean, I could say, no, it's not. And, you know, I'd be wrong because there's probably a tradition. And if I said that that's how it has to be, obviously it's not true because people have a lot of success with Yarrow from everywhere. So I think it's just part of one of the traditions. I don't buy into that at all. But you know me, you know I'm going to say that. You know exactly I'm going to say that. Jordan says, what do you think is the most important when casting a spell to get the most potent results? So number one, first and foremost, the way that I practice these things is not from a results-based perspective. So I'll explain that first, and then I'll give you my advice. People will misunderstand what I'm about to say to think that I'm saying that when you do magic, miracles don't happen or something. What I'm going to tell you is that magic doesn't cause anything to happen. Magic reveals a miracle that was always there. You just haven't seen it. Like, you just had to acknowledge it. That's kind of the way I look at it. The better way, maybe if you're looking for a more mystical way of putting it, is there is a multiverse in which anything that you can imagine exists. Magic is how you get to the timeline where you get the thing that you're trying to see. The problem is that magic cannot be done by desire. It's a force of will, and it's not a force. It's a manifestation of will. Okay, so magic is a manifestation of will. It is not a manifestation of desire. You can want the thing that you're doing ritual for all day long, and that will hurt you. If it is not your will, and when I say your will, I don't mean Jordan's will. I mean the divine's will that you truly are. Jordan is just a mask for that divinity. If it is not the divine's will, it will not manifest. No matter how much you want it, no matter how hard you work for it, no matter how you struggle. If it is not your will, it will not manifest. So that means what magic is doing is it's revealing the divine will to you one way or the other. If you're doing magic correctly, you're actually learning over time to have your egoistic desires start to align with your divine will. And people will say, well, Thorne, you sound like magic doesn't work. It's self-help. You're powerless. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm saying your ego's in the way. If you want your magic to manifest, you've got to get your ego out of the way. It doesn't mean ego goes away. It doesn't mean ego doesn't do anything. It means ego's got to stop taking credit for everything. You've got to sit back and you've got to, so in chaos magic, you're doing things to switch off your egoistic thinking for a moment, enter a state of gnosis, and in that state of gnosis, you implant your desire and all this stuff. In a very similar way of putting it, what your rituals and spells are doing is they're allowing for you to sort of take a left turn at Albuquerque. For me, it's this way, but for you guys on camera, take a left turn at Albuquerque and go into the timeline that you're trying to see. Now, sometimes there's things in life that we will to exist and to experience that we have no direct personal influence over. You know, I could take this bottle and chuck it, and I therefore influence this bottle to chuck across the room. But let's say I want to change world events. Well, I've got no direct hand in that. I can't, you know, fire off an email and get Biden impeached, okay? But I can do a ritual in which I am releasing my egoistic desires from, like, pretending that they're in control and allowing my will to take that step into that reality. Now, if I don't see that reality, all it means is that that wasn't really my will. My will is to not see that. There's something else I'm trying to do. So what I'm telling you is this is why magic appears to work via synchronicity more, not purely, but more than any other way. Because when it's working, it seems like supernatural coincidences. It doesn't seem like something levitated across the room and you got what you wanted. It doesn't seem like that kind of weird shit. It seems like you literally jumped the timeline. It's literally like a mandala effect happens. Like there's no way this could have been, but it is. Okay. And there are times when this happens in a way it's going to fuck your brain up, because it might seem like this would have had to have happened before I even did the spell. Okay. The thing that I wanted to happen would have required steps happening long before I even thought of doing the spell. And you'll be like, did my magic work backwards in time? No, you just jumped to a different timeline of the multiverse. That's all. You just literally shifted. I've had this happen a bunch. We have a running joke in my house. When we remember something different, a lot of times we're just being dumb. But every once in a while, you got to wonder, did I jump into a different timeline where like this little detail is different than I remember it? Yeah, it's very possible. So how do you get the most potent results? Don't think of it in the terms of results or potency. Let go of your attachments to the outcome. You've got to be willing for it to be whatever it's going to be. You've got to trust your own higher self to go to that reality that you are trying to see. Not you as an ego, not you as a desiring person. You've got to use your desires as symbolic, not as literal. So for example, let's say I've got a situation where I'm deeply in love. That person doesn't love me, or they do, but there's a problem, whatever. I'm going to do a love spell, right? And I'm going to be a good guy magician, and I'm not going to do an oppressive spell where I force them to love me. I'm going to do a spell where I remove obstacles or something, and hopefully it works out. Now, my desire is for that person to love me, but my deepest will, my deepest intention, my highest will and intent may not be to be loved by that person. My highest will and intent may be to just be loved by someone who truly appreciates me, that I don't have to go through all these troubles to get to like me. Or maybe it's to become confident in myself and not care if people love me, and then love will find me. There's a bunch of different ways this could work, right? So you've got to let go of your egoistic desires to allow the will to manifest what it wants. Wants is not the right word, but that's the language. Let the will manifest what it is, its will to manifest. So you've got to get out of your own way. So when casting a spell to get better potency for results purposes, your ritual, your spell, it can be as big as a ceremonial ritual or just a jar spell. You've got to do something that takes yourself and puts you into a state where you can jump that track in the timeline without noticing it. You've got to do something to get your ego off of this, to get your desires put away, to have no attachment to the outcome. And you've got to do this almost like it don't matter. You want this to manifest like a synchronistic coincidence, not like I caused it. You've got to get that I and take it out of the whole thing. Now, some people don't like that. Some people are the kind of Luciferian where they've gone off into the egoistic deep end. And for them, it's all about my will, I decide, I choose, I cause, I force. And they end up being sad a lot of the times because it doesn't work that way. They do a lot of posturing, you'll notice. Those people, I see them all over the internet posturing how this and that, and they're still living in their mama's basement 9 times out of 10. So don't let them fool you. It's not your will, the individual, it's the will of the divine that you are. All of this, the stars in the sky are your will. Okay, you've got to transcend this thing that you call you to realize that. And you can't realize that every moment of your life. I got to tell you, even the most enlightened person doesn't live their entire life moment to moment knowing that the stars are them. Okay, They live in a life where they feel just as embodied as everybody else. They shit like everybody else. They have good days and bad days. But behind that is the realization always that there are the stars. They are the universe. Everything is according to will. And that allows them to live life in a way without suffering. Now, the good news is when you've done that, you won't even need to necessarily do rituals and magic that much, because you'll realize that your will's already doing everything. So sometimes all it takes is just a prescient moment of realizing that something's going to change or it's going to go a certain way, and then just doing it. You don't feel like you've got to change reality so much. You feel like you've got to meet reality. You've got to rise to the challenge of reality. You've got to whatever it is that your will is taking you towards, you've got to go meet it rather than cause it to happen. Right? It's a paradigm shift. It's a major paradigm shift. It's a major shift of perspective. Everything looks the same, but it's different. So there's no specific things I could tell you that would make it more potent. But what I would suggest is doing a lot of meditative practice, transcendental meditation, so that you can achieve that Gnostic state of realization of what you are, and then get so that you can do that in ritual. Imagine, this is how I do them, not every time, but I know when my ritual's going well, D.H. Thorne isn't there. Oh, there's someone talking, there's someone saying they're D.H. Thorne, but D.H. Thorne is not real. I'm literally possessed by my own divine higher formlessness in that moment, and I am the hand of God in a ritual. I am literally not D.H. Thorne anymore. I'll say my name's D.H. Thorne. I'll be like, I, D.H. Thorne, command this and this. That's literally just a bit of performance art that I'm doing at that point. I enter into a transcendental state when I do magic, or I'm not doing magic. If you ever watch my ritual videos where you see me from the start, really from the start, and a lot of times I cut out some of the early meditation because it's boring. It's just me sitting there. Like I usually have it so that like I'm sitting there, I'm doing my meditation, then I'll start the ritual proper. And you'll be like, oh, there it goes. No, I might have been sitting there for 20 minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes beforehand, getting into a transcendental state. Once I'm in a transcendental state, it doesn't matter what I do. I could literally, one of my most powerful spells that I've ever done was done literally just by an intuitive realization that now is the time to do it. And it was, it's going to sound a little political. I cursed Derek Chauvin because I saw that video of him kneeling on George Floyd's neck. Whether you think he was murdered or not, that got my blood boiling. Okay. And I'm not like a BLM guy, but I am a libertarian, fair-minded person. I see this going like, you know, I know martial arts, you don't kneel on somebody's neck that way without problems, especially if they're begging for you to get up. I don't want to make this too political. Just take my word for it. And so I immediately thought, okay, I had this be thou guilty in my mind. If you are guilty, so there was a caveat in there. If you are guilty of something. And then I did this just really vicious curse. And the curse was just spur of the moment. I had no idea what I was going to do. I just suddenly felt, grab a piece of ham out of the refrigerator, grab a piece of tissue paper out of the bathroom, wipe your ass with it, wrap the ham around it. The ham symbolizing the bacon of the cop, right? The pig. Burn that fucker in a fire, and within 24 hours, the precinct was on fire. All hell was breaking loose, and I was like, whoopsie, I might have made a little too much happen. And then I learned that I didn't make anything happen. All I did was shift to a timeline where all that shit cut loose. Then we see he gets not just slapped on the wrist, he does real hard time because they considered it a form of murder. And I felt very vindicated. Now, does that mean that I cursed him and caused him to burn in hell? No. What I realized happened is I jumped to a timeline where that chain of events happened. And somewhere in the multiverse, he was innocent and nothing happened. So I went to the guilty timeline. That's that. I don't take credit for causing him to go to jail or anything like that. Let's see. I'm just looking to see if anybody notices what I'm saying, but Phil says Sky was going to ban me. Of course I was going to ban you. You're talking like a spaz. Then you told me you're tweaking. I can't ban a tweaker. I mean, I might put you in timeout. I ain't going to ban a tweaker. It's not your fault. You're just having a good time. That's just like it's like when you're at the bar and you're like, you had enough, go home, bro. I'm not mad at that. You're just having fun, man. That's cool. Thank you, Jordan. I just give it a shot, man. When I say this is my worldview, it's not just my opinion. It's my confirmed, validated experience, okay? But for you, it may be just an opinion, and you've got to find your confirmed, validated experience. When you find your confirmed, validated experience, you're gonna not need my advice at all. You might ask for it just to get my perspective, but you won't need to know what I think. You're gonna be off, you know, in your own world doing cool shit. You won't need my opinion. You'll just use it for inspiration, if anything. But I am trying to finish my latest book. I don't know if I'll ever do it, guys. I keep running into things where I'm like, I got to rewrite that. Do I want to just make it become the Maelstrom 2, or do I want to make it a complete new entity? You know, I'm a little bit in a weird spot. I think what I'm writing is excellent. The stuff that I'm saying is really creating a new paradigm. I can't wait to release something from it. It's just, when am I going to get it done? I don't know. I should probably do rituals about it. I think I gotta untangle whatever energy is hanging me back right now. I think that's what I gotta do. Doc just said it very well. When you find it, you'll tell your story and no one will believe you. Yeah, that's, I feel that one, bro. That is literally how it feels. When this is out, I expect that it's going to divide my fan base a little bit, because it's a different way. It's pretty much everything I've been talking about for a while, but a lot of people who like me for some theistic superstitious thing that I never really said. Like, they think that that's what I was saying, but it's not. And if you go back, you can see I never said the stuff. Like, I'm not in your team, dude. Like, I have my own thing. I've always had my own thing. I've always been Alan Watts, but demons, right? That's always been how I've done it. And that hasn't changed. That's still the same. But this new thing, it's way more sophisticated. And I'm hoping that it's something new enough that it will get a lot of people thinking. And I'm hoping that it's based on things that people are familiar with, so it's not like I got to explain the wheel again. And, you know, it's either going to be a dud or it's going to be a hit, you know, and we'll see. We'll see. Doc says, I like you because you're cool and edgy. You talking about me or Phil? I think you're talking about Phil, because Phil's being cool and edgy tonight. I appreciate that if you're talking about me, but I don't know. Am I edgy? I just think I'm a dork who likes black, dude. I don't know if I'm fucking edgy. I don't try to be edgy. I think that's, you know what it is? People would say, like, because I have Pluto in my first house, that's why. So I'm very Plutonian. Like, I don't have to be a Scorpio, because I have everything else that a Scorpio has without being one. So I don't need the stinger. I got the horns, baby. I can sting, motherfucker. Trust me. Piss me off. You'll find out. I can cut you deep if I want to. I just don't. I usually just trample.
You know, it's vindictive as a Scorpio.
Doc saying sarcasm. Hey, I liked it better when you were being honest. That's all good. It's all good. You can't take anything too seriously, you know? That's why I like doing these streams, because a lot of times when I say stuff in text, there's more of a chance of misunderstanding. When I say things you can hear the tone in my voice, you know where I'm coming from. I could be like, oh, you're a fucking dumbass. And you know, I don't mean it in a nasty way necessarily. So that's why I like doing these streams. It's a little bit easier to get that energy out, but I find it's harder for me sometimes to get my words out. You know, I tend to, however my practice of channeling is, it goes through my fingers better than my mouth. And some people say, like, I'm really good at talking and you say things so eloquently and blah, blah, blah. But I feel very stilted when I speak compared to when I write. And when I'm writing, I flow better. Like, there's less, I think it's because when I'm writing, I'm literally hooking my left brain up to my hands and there's less of an interrupt. And I don't think much like subvocally like other people do. I'm mostly in some sort of a non-thinking state most of the time. And when I'm writing, I allow that to just go through to my fingers. But it's harder for me to do talking, especially some nights. Like some nights I just can't.
Occasionally you're scattered.
What's that, honey?
Occasionally you're scattered.
Yeah, occasionally. I think I'm scattered tonight. I feel scattered tonight. Phil says, I love when you're angry. You say things better when you rant. I mean, you're probably right, dude. I think you're right. I think when I'm angry, I do, like, there's just a lot more, like, fuck all y'all in my mind. I don't care what you think so much. So I just say what I want. Doc, you talking about the thing at Newark? I'm going again this Friday. So if you're old enough to go to a club, I don't remember how old you are. I don't remember if you're a young guy or an older guy. I don't remember. But I'm going again this Friday, so.
And on the 11th of November.
And on the 11th of November for their movie night. But the big one's probably tomorrow. So. Yeah, I don't know. This movie thing's different. Like, I don't know. It's like, it's the same. So it's Iron Garden at QXT's in Newark. If you can get there tomorrow or the 11th, my wife and I will both be there. And hopefully, my wife says there's some club scene stuff after the movie, but there's definitely club stuff tomorrow. So, oh, you're an old fart? Oh, fuck, you're older than me. I don't know why I thought you were young. Who am I thinking of? I know you've been around a lot though. So, well, come on down if you can get to Newark tomorrow. CJ's going to be there, right? CJ's coming. We're going to meet him up. I don't know exactly what time. Probably around 6ish. We'll probably meet you up, bro. Just. You know what? I'll probably have to get your cell phone number tonight or something. Send it to me in Discord and I'll boop you when we're getting close and we can meet you up in the lobby or something. So good morning, CJ. That's right. Get that late night shit going on because tomorrow we're probably gonna be up late. I think the club closes at 3, so we'll probably.
You want to screen share the flyer for the 11th?
No, we'll put it up in the thing later. Because I have to find it and I have to get it all hooked up through the program. Oh, okay, Doc, I got you. Probably we're planning on doing the East Coast meetup thing like once a year at least. Like make it more of an official thing. My wife and I are planning on trying to make it a regular thing, somewhat regularly. We go to this Iron Garden thing. It's like 2 hours for us to get there, 2.5 hours, and like an hour to get home, hour and a half to get home, depends on the traffic. So it's probably really 2 hours no matter what. It's just a little bit faster at night coming home. And so we can't make it every month, especially during busy seasons at the nursery that my wife and I work at. But if we can get there, I don't know. According to the rules, to be a formal member of the Iron Garden as a citizen, you've got to make it 4 times a year. I'm pretty sure we can do that. So we're going to try. This is going to be our second time. If we like it, we're going to try to make it a regular thing. So we liked it the first time. So, but yeah, Doc, we're going to try to do this once a year. So just like this last time, watch this space if you can get the time out. Dude, it was awesome. We had a great time. I mean, I had so much fun meeting everybody. You know, I mean, people went off and did their own things a little bit, but you know what? We had a really good time for the time we were together and we had a lot of fun. And I think next time what I'm going to do is instead of maybe just one day or one evening or something, maybe we'll try to set it up so we've got like a whole 24 hours or 2 days or something like that, so that we can all hang out and do cool stuff and try to find some more stuff to do in the area. Maybe instead of the club, maybe we'll do something in Philly, or maybe we'll do something in New York or Long Island or something. I don't know. We'll find something. We'll figure it out. I think we're going to try to do the club though, because that's a really easy way to meet up. But who knows? We could always start at the club and then drive to Long Island and go to freaking Kings Park and all kinds of cool, crazy stuff. So that'd be fun. Yeah, Newark is, being a New Yorker, The part of Newark that the club is in, it's not really scary at all. I don't know. People are, Newark's so bad. Parts of Newark are real bad, but there's parts of New York that are just as bad, if not worse. So, you know, and I've been through those. Like, there's times when you're driving around parts of New York and it's like a scene out of a movie. You definitely want to like roll up your windows and stuff. Cause, yeah, we avoided Chicago, Phil. We went out to Chicago to see our son when he graduated in the Navy boot camp. And we just like skipped right over Chicago. Like we landed at O'Hare and we're like, fuck that. And we we scooted right on out. Like we didn't stop at all. I kind of wanted to during the day, but not at night. I didn't want to be there at night.
By the Bundy residence.
Yeah, Joffrey's in Detroit. Tell us how RoboCop's doing if you can, because we could probably use him right now. Yeah, Georgia's pretty interesting. I know some people in Georgia. I've had him on the channel a couple times. He's a really nice guy. I got to get him back on. It's been a little while. He's got his own books and stuff. He had his own New Age store in Atlanta. Really nice guy. He still comments on my stuff. I gotta hook up with him, get him on again. He's a really brilliant. He knows a lot of stuff. He's another one. He probably knows more factual information than I do for sure. He's another one of them, and I do love getting him on. I should get him on again. But he would agree with you, yeah. And you know, Georgia's all right, but it's all too hot down there. Like, I don't know. But then again, Long Island can be pretty fucking disgusting with the humidity in the summer, so. Hold on, I gotta get something going here. Let's see something. All right, good. All right, let's see. People are saying avoid parts of Newark there. Doc asks, what's his name? Oh, you mean the guy from Georgia? What's his name? I don't know if he wants me to give his full name out. His first name's Brandon. He's been on the show before. I don't like giving away other people's info. I don't remember if he had an alias or not. I don't want to give anybody's deets away, you know? I don't want to dox anybody. But he's been on the show before. But yeah, I gotta get him on again. It's been a while. Yeah, the club's in a good area. I like where it is. It's kind of easy to find. It's in a safe area. You know, I mean, if you're walking at night, you want to walk with some people, but it seemed pretty safe. Oh, Nunor just says, I don't know. I mean, we were there just the one time and it seemed pretty safe to us, but you know, again, I don't know. Things change, you know. I'm used to this. Like, I used to go through Jamaica late at night, just little old me and all these other. Jamaica's pretty tame though, but not Jamaica the country, Jamaica the kind of like city here on Long Island. Wine dance. So, I mean, it was kind of, I'm not saying I'd go like, you know, and ask for trouble out where the club is, but I think if you just, you know, if you're a little street smart, you're fine. It didn't, you know, I can recognize when an area is like, you know, just try not to even be there. Like, it's like, yeah, like I can usually tell when you don't want to be in that part of town. Oh, Ninurta's an old school Latin king, man. All right. Yeah. So, you know, I managed to avoid the gangs myself, but Yeah, I mean, it really depends, you know, like when I lived in bad parts of town, you know, growing up and stuff, um, I don't know, like I wish I could say that it was really bad. I think it really depends on how you on who you know and what you're doing. You know, like how you present yourself, how you walk, how you talk to people. Um, you know, if you look like a victim, you're more likely to be victimized. And some levels it doesn't matter. You know, you'll get three dudes pop out on you even if you look scary, but I don't know. I always have like this, especially when I was younger. I always had like a pack of smokes on me. I was always just handing out cigarettes. If I was on a street corner and somebody was, hey man, you want a cigarette? You know, I always found a way to be friendly with people, and I didn't usually have much of a problem. But I guess times change. It's been a while since I got to be fully honest. It's been a hot minute since I've actually spent, you know, actual time in the hood, so to speak. So I don't know how I'd fare these days. Back when I was in my 20s, I had no problem with it. So I don't know, but I know to keep my head on a swivel though. So yeah, some of that Latin King stuff, you know, I don't know. Like where I am, the gangs are a real problem. We had a person murdered and left on a baseball diamond a block from my house where I live now. And it's not a bad neighborhood where I am now. And he was trying to leave the gangs. I don't know if he was in, what is it, 8th Street? What do they call themselves? 8th, fuck, I don't remember. I'm not up on it anymore. It's the 8th Street, something or other. And they're always duking it out with the Kings out here. And yeah, it's really, yeah, that's right. It's really my wife's saying it's the MS, it's really MS-13 where I am. Like when I was younger, we had a lot of Latin Kings, but it's really MS-13 now, where I am. And I think the kid was trying to get out of MS-13, and they murdered him and left him on the diamond. My memory of the Latin Kings was better than it seems like the MS-13 is. And I shouldn't be talking about this too much because who knows, I might piss off the wrong person. But I could be wrong, but in my childhood experience, Latin Kings was just, you know, MS-13 seems to just cause more of a problem. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ninurta. Maybe you know if you've got history with that stuff. I'm open-minded. I'm not trying to judge. I'm just saying what I remember. Seems like everybody's scared of MS-13 up here. And when I was younger, Latin Kings you were scared of Latin Kings if you fucked around with them. But if you didn't fuck around with them, you didn't have much to worry about. Kind of like the, you know, the other gangs, the big gangs, Crips, Bloods, and all that. You don't fuck with them, they don't fuck with you. I remember one time my wife and I were going to the movies, and there was this dude with all red, right? Black dude, all red, cool as fuck looking, standing there. And you know, it was like you probably have nothing to worry about him because he's there showing his colors. He's there to do business. He's by himself. He's by himself, all colored up, looking confident as shit. He's not there to fuck with you. He's there. He's doing some business. You don't have to worry about him. Now, if you saw a bunch of them at the same time, and there's, you know, you might have to worry. But yeah, like there's a certain honor amongst thieves. You know, you just got to know what you're doing. Keep your own business to yourself. It's like the best way to get around it, in my opinion. They're sickos. I think you mean MS-13. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I said, what little interaction I've had with that group out here is look, I'm not saying that I'm all good with all gangs and stuff, but that's a gang that it's like, I don't know about you. It seems to be I know they wouldn't like me just because. Oh, did you, Ninurta? Okay, I didn't know there's another king in East. Okay. Hell, tell him to look me up. If he likes me, help him look me up. If he's a cool guy. Or girl, right? Cool guy. Have him look me up. Fuck it. Just don't get me involved in nothing. I'm an old man. I'm not here to fight some shit no more. My days are over. How do I do an old man? My days are older. I don't do nothing like that no more. These youngsters these days, you're right, man. You're fucking right. Look, I thought it was wild when I was a kid. I thought it was wild when I was a teenager, man. And we had people get stabbed and stuff, and it was like, we thought that was something. Nowadays, like a stabbing's like just another Tuesday. Like, I don't know, man. It's just, we actually had a bigger problem. We had a bigger problem with skinheads in a lot of ways, to be honest with you. And we didn't even have like hardcore racist ones. We had like a lot of the non-racist ones, and they still cause a lot of shit. King Joker. Whoever King Joker is, I don't mean any disrespect. I never heard of them. I have a feeling that's an important, like I said, man, I'm an old fart. I don't remember nothing, but yeah, man, just, you know, if they like my stuff, that's badass. I appreciate that. I mean, is that, when you say King Joker, you're not talking about like that dude who got in for murder. I had to look it up. You're not talking about that dude who got in for murder, right? Yeah, sort of. I don't, look, I was on the very outside of that stuff, dude. I know so little. I just recognize, you know, little bits of it, because back in the 90s, like I was pretty clean. Like, I mean, I was selling stuff and doing stuff I shouldn't be doing, but I wasn't like, I was not, yeah. Like I'm sort of overstepping myself. I'm overhyping myself now a little bit because I got a super chat. All right, I'll get that in a second. Yeah, I'm overhyping myself a little bit. Not gonna lie. Like I wasn't that deep in stuff. No. I kept my nose clean of the gang stuff, man. I avoided all that stuff as best I could. So. All right, Gar gave me a 10 spot, and he says, "You're hardly old. Even in my early 60s, I still consider myself, well, not old." Dude, I don't think of myself as old. I call myself old because compared to a lot of people I am, but I don't feel old at all. Yeah, I don't want to talk much more out of my ass on it, because at some point I reach the end of my knowledge of those things, which is, like I said, it's 30 or 40 years out of date. 30 years out of date, and I kept my nose clean on most of that. But I do find it fascinating though. Like, definitely hit me up with anything. Like, that's cool, dude. Like, that stuff's interesting to me. Oh, which thing did he say no to?
I believe it was about who you thought he.
Oh, okay. So I got the wrong person. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna shut up about it. I don't like when I don't know things. You guys can probably tell. When I don't know something, I feel naked. Like, now I need to know. Like, you gotta tell me all about it. I gotta learn. Let me see. No, that's true, man. No, that's true. But luckily, I was always a huge dude, and I didn't have a lot of trouble making friends, especially with tough people. So I didn't get bullied much, actually. When I was younger, like, I'd usually fight the biggest bully, and we'd become friends, and then we'd like bully like the assholes, basically. It was very rare that I got made fun of. That's not bullying, dude. To me, that's a speed bump in your day. It sucks, don't get me wrong, especially when everybody's doing it. But that's not, to me, that's not bullying. Bullying is like when someone's like beating up on you. And that didn't go with me for long. Like once I hit a certain age, it stopped. Like it's just people started looking up at me going, who's going to bully that? And then I just got a reputation for beating people up, and it just didn't last really. The worst thing that happened to me was I fought a kid who was like a fraction of my size, and he was a trained boxer and I was just like this big tough guy. And even though I beat him pound for pound, it looked better on he hit me way more than I hit him, even though I ended up squishing him on the ground. Like people watching that were like, oh, you lost, because I guess they were thinking like style wise. And yeah, for that kind of situation, I guess. But nah, dude, I never really, that's the cool thing is that like I would end up bullying bullies a lot of the way. Like there was usually only one or two people that I didn't fuck with growing up, and we were usually friends, and we usually just steered clear of each other, and I would just bully everybody else, and I would bully the bullies. It was more fun. You know, nothing whimpers like a bully. Like I'm just letting you know, nothing whimpers like a bully. But these days, who knows? You bully a bully, you might get shot. So who the fuck knows? Okay, so CJ asked a really good question. Traditionally, one would give energy with the right hand and take energy with the left. Is this universal, or can the opposite be true? I catch with my right hand, so it feels natural. So for me, the way I prosecute this is it doesn't actually have to do with the technical hand. To me, it's your dominant versus your passive. That's how I do it. I'm right-handed, so that's my projection. My left is my reception. Does that mean it's a hard rule? No. I've done both, but I feel more comfortable doing the flow that way. But it doesn't have to be. It really doesn't have to be. But since I'm right-handed, I stick with that. I think if you're left-handed, I can see why you'd do it the other way, and I think you should try it if you're left-handed. See how it feels, and see if it works. Did I finish my playlist? Does that mean it's got to be getting close? Yes, it is. Yeah, I mean, I agree with Eddie to a great degree. I think that it shouldn't be a hard rule. I think it should be a preferential rule, and that you should be capable of using anything really, any hand, any part of your body, you know. But remember, a lot of this is the way that I practice it is it's symbolic in that I don't believe that I am moving energy around in the way that many other occultists do. That doesn't mean that I don't use the same terms, imagery, etc. What I rationalize it is that I am charging a symbol in my simulacrum. So every one of us exists in our own iteration of the simulacrum. And when that is, when you're working with your simulacrum, you can charge symbols in it. So this is a symbol to me. So I can charge this symbol with association, with energy. Okay. When I say energy, I don't mean like electricity. In fact, let's start over. The word energy is a lot of bullshit. Okay. The word energy, as we understand it, most human beings, when we're talking about energy, we're talking about a manifestation of energy, not actual energy. So when you're talking about electricity, the electricity you see like a lightning bolt, that's not energy. That's energy doing something, right? Energy is not the thing that's manifesting. So when you're going like shooting lightning bolts with your mind and your rituals, that's not actually energy. That's a manifestation of energy. You know, this is energy. This is energy. All of this is energy. And when we say energy from a mechanical, scientific point of view, we describe energy as the ability to do work. Okay. There is no such thing as potential energy. There's just energy, period. Okay. And then there's energy that is doing something. One might say it's all potential energy, but potential energy is kind of like a linguistic nonsense, because energy just is, you know? So for me, it's visualization. When I'm visualizing energy moving, or visualizing like charging something, I'm charging it in my associative mind. I'm associating it with something, and I'm charging it with that association, and that alone adjusts the simulacrum so that I am existing in a timeline where that tendency is more likely, I guess. That's one way I could put it. That's one way I might rationalize it. But if you sit in with me doing ritual a lot, if you could see inside my mind's eye, I'm not doing a lot of that. I'm not doing a lot of lightning bolts at things and shooting energy at things. And I'm doing more of a prescient performance. Like I'm more sort of allowing intuition and spontaneity to guide my actions. And that could be, yes, it could be a visualization of energy, or it could just be I hold the object and declare something about it and put it down. Or there's a whole bunch of different ways it could happen. So there's no hard rule for it for me. I guess in a way I'm like the quintessential chaos magician, not the Osmond Spare type of chaos, but the more popular way of describing chaos magic, like anything goes. But I do have rules. I do have certain things in mind. DH says, "Hey DH, during Hurricane Ian, your Become the Maelstrom was all I had was all I had to read." I'm sorry. That sounds like it sucks. No, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. That's a compliment. Thank you, man. Become the Maelstrom. You can ask Fleshy, because he finds it funny because I diss that book a lot. It's a great book. Don't get me wrong. It's just that book is like 4 years out of date with what I do now. Like that book is where I was 4 years ago when I was trying to create a book for beginners that normally don't have answers on simple questions. And I wanted to integrate that into a book that was for people of all skill levels. So I wanted something in there for the advanced and something for the beginner. And I wanted it to be sort of like a Dungeon Master Guide / Player's Handbook. I wanted it to be the only book you needed to understand everything else I was going to do. And at the time, it was great because it did that. And a lot of the stuff in there is still stuff that I recommend to people. But I've moved on a lot. My current paradigm of understanding what I do has now shifted into more of this multiversal attitude. So now I recognize that. So I almost see it kind of like encapsulations, like Russian nesting dolls. Become the Maelstrom was a pretty decent, it's pretty up there in the hierarchy of the Russian nesting doll. But where I am now is like 6 or 7 Russian nesting dolls above that. So to me, Become the Maelstrom is just a valid expression of stuff, but it's not the rules. It's just a way you can do things. The way I look at things now is more of a multiversal, divine source manifesting itself way of doing things. And that changes everything. That means that the techniques are more free, right? It has more to do with perception, intuition, spontaneity, intuitiveness, prescience. Did I say that yet? I probably did. And going with the flow and being the hand of God, and you are God. Okay. Not D.H. Thorne is God. D.H. Thorne is the hand of God, shall we say, and being that. And that's coming. That's a book that's coming. And maybe it's like Become the Maelstrom version 2, right? I don't know, but I'm not going to call it that. So. Murdered Sun says, "I do enjoy drawing energy up from the earth, circulating it through my heart and through my right arm, out my right into the ground, and reverse it." Yeah, I agree with you, dude. I do that occasionally, sometimes a couple times a week, sometimes not for a while. I think it's really good for grounding. I love connecting with that. It's a very potent way. Like when you're feeling like everything is just moving too fast, just bring that earth energy in like that. Absolutely. Good night, Z. I see Z's going. Solora said good night, X. Thank you for coming, Z. I appreciated you, man. Or Woolman. Whatever you are, Z. You should write a part 2 DH. I was gonna, but honestly, Become the Maelstrom, it was always meant to be its own standalone everything book. And part 2 would just be like an edition, right? It would really just be an edition. It wouldn't be a part 2. It'd be like Become the Maelstrom second edition. And it would be so different from Become the Maelstrom that all I can say is, like, in my next book, I may put in there that this is like the spiritual, like, reincarnation of the second book because of Become the Maelstrom, because it's going to be so different on some levels. In some ways, it's going to be a lot alike, you know, in some ways, like, because, you know, everybody's got a style of writing rituals. And if you read my books, they're always kind of, they're not too complicated, but they got just enough complication in them so that you got to work at them a little bit, but they're not something that you couldn't do. You know, everybody can do them. So that's going to be similar. Like, some of the ways that I do that stuff would be similar. And I may or may not put a lot of rituals in this one. I have to really decide, because it's becoming to the point now where I'm not about rituals per se. I'm about methodologies. So instead of do the ritual this way, the most I would say is, here's a way that you can set up your ritual space. Here is a set of patterns to follow. So do transcendental meditation, get into a perfectly empty state, become the hand of God. And a lot of that you got to build up to. You got to build up to knowing how to be the hand of God. You got to learn how to transcend so that you can make those shifts that you're trying to do. You've got to learn to role play with spirits that you can't see and feel, and then get to the point where you're not role playing anymore. Like, you start off as you're role playing, and that's usually how I do it when I'm channeling. Sometimes they just come in and boom, I'm right there. Other times I've got to role play with the spirit for a while before it connects. And then it's sort of like you gotta fake it till you make it. So you fake it a little bit with the spirit till the spirit embodies that thing that you've made. Like, you visualize the spirit in the room, you talk to it like it's there, you play both sides of the conversation, and then next thing you know, you're not doing their side anymore, at least not on purpose. It's just happening. It's just intuitively coming out of you. And then weird shit starts to happen, and you get, you know, poltergeist activity or some other weird shit, and you're off and running at that point. Ritual is the same kind of thing. You kind of role play it till it happens. So there's ways of doing that. So I want to get that methodology like really codified, which means a little bit more practice on my part to be like, if I was going to pick one way of doing, because I do things different all the time. If you watch my rituals again, I don't always do them the same way. I will do some things the same way. Some things will be different. Sometimes I'm modular, where I'll use, like, you know, different things, different ways, but the methods are still the same. Like, a ritual still follows the same process. Transcendental my way out, start working with symbolism, invoke a spirit if I need it, blah, 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 do the ritual completely like in a spontaneous hand of God kind of way. Once I feel the ritual is completed and I've let go of everything, close the ritual, walk away and go play Legend of Zelda or something and not think about what I just did. So one must have a sock before it can be a puppet, so to speak. Yes, exactly. Let's see. Gar says you could always do a Gene Wolfe and call the next one The Maelstrom Becomes. Nice, Gar. Yeah, I don't think so. The next book will have heretic in the title. I'm not sure exactly what it will say. The original, like, the working title was Way of the Heretic, and I'm sort of thinking about changing that. As good as that is, it doesn't quite feel right. You know, I don't know if I want to call it the Heretic's Bible. I think that's a name that's already out. It might be like the Black Book of the Heretic. I don't know. If you guys want to give me some juicy title ideas with the word heretic in it, you can send that in my Discord or send it to me or whatever. But we'll see, you know. The reason I like the word heretic is it's a little bit of a blasphemous word. It gets people like, oh, I think the heretic. It's kind of edgy and cool, right? But it's also, the original meaning of the word heretic wasn't really a negative. If you were called a heretic in like the year, like, you know, 12, it wasn't a diss. It was literally just saying that you have a difference of opinion. Like you have a different idea of something. It's like saying you're not quite a nonconformist. It's like saying you're unorthodox. That's all it's like you're saying. And this is an unorthodox way, because I'm taking a lot of orthodoxy and taking that orthodoxy and re-implementing it in a way that sometimes is blasphemous to its origin. And, you know, it would be the Vamachara way of Hindu religions. It would be the left-hand path, the sinister path, but it's not evil. It's an unorthodox way of doing orthodox things. And it's rooted in that same non-dual philosophy, that monist philosophy that I'm always talking about. So I'm going to be, my biggest unknown right now is how much I'm going to get into a specific pantheon of spirits, because this was originally going to be like a twist on Gnosticism. And I said, no, I'm going to untwist that. It's still in there, but I'm untwisting it a little bit. Just a few pieces are going to be remnant from that. So I got to really figure out how much I want to go with spiritual pantheons. Do I want to really lean into a Gnostic Luciferian way of doing things? Or do I want to keep it more open so that people who aren't into that can still buy this book and benefit from it without being turned off by that one thing, right? Because there's a lot of people that might buy this book, except it'll have like Lucifer imagery on it. And people are like, oh, I'm not into that. That's spooky and weird. Now, one could argue that that's a good thing, right? I've argued before that in a lot of ways, the daemons that we like are spooky, scary, and evil looking because they turn away certain kinds of people. Like you've got to, if you can see past that scary facade, you'll find out that beneath that facade is a wise teacher. And the people who go to those spirits because they're evil, they get the evil things, right? They get what they're looking for, and it devours them and destroys them. It's a form of shadow work. The people who look at those spirits like, so everybody knows somebody who loves animals and thinks tarantulas are cute and snakes are cute. Well, that's like me. Except it's not just for tarantulas and snakes, it's for demons and shit. I look at demons and shit and go, oh, Lilith is so sweet. Oh, and Lucifer's cool. Like, I'm not afraid of them. And I'm not looking for them to be my demons that destroy people for me and shit. So I transcend that superficial side. That's not to say that they're not scary and powerful and dangerous and all this other stuff. It's just to say that there's a superficiality to it, that when you penetrate it, you realize that they're wise teachers more than anything. That below the surface of those horrible, evil, scary demons is, yes, a challenging, potentially dangerous companion, but they're a wise teacher. And if you are able to integrate that, I find them way more useful than the love and light spirits. Just as a general, there's only a few love and light spirits that I like Odin, and I wouldn't call him love and light, by the way. Odin is very much almost dark side. It's kind of interesting that Odin and Loki are enemies. So they're not enemies, but often shown as enemies to each other. Like they're gonna, they got a lot in common. Let's put it that way. But yeah, so I tend to like the Chthonic, the dark side spirits, because below that superficial, ugly, scary, dangerous, potentially bad, there's a lot there. Doc Style says, not even close to love and light. Exactly. Odin is not love and light, man. No. Not at all. So I like that superficial darkness, because you got to penetrate that to get to the value. And if you can get through that, the value is really, you've earned it, you know? CJ says, I was taught that even the more love and light spirits and systems are evil and demonic. So exactly, if you're coming from a fundamentalist Christian background, you know, Athena's a bad guy, you know? And so Zeus, and so's all the supposedly good gods and shit. They're all evil. You know, this is why, like I say, like, you know, fundamentalist Christianity can eat my ass, just like fundamentalist anything. Fundamentalist Satanism, fundamentalist Christianity, fundamentalist Islam, fundamentalist Buddhism, all of you can eat my ass, because that's, no. Yeah, Azazel can help. Ninurta brought up, Azazel helped King Joker quit heroin, and before he was calling on Jesus and it got worse. You know, Azazel's really good. You know, they call him the scapegoat for a reason. You know, that the whole, this is one reason why one of the rituals I like doing with him, and I'm not that close to Azazel, however you like to say it. I'm not really close to him. Like, he and I have like a working arrangement. We don't always get along. Whenever I conjure work with him, I've had experiences with him that were very positive, and I've had some that were very like standoffish and negative. And it's almost like we're a little fire and ice coming together. There is some mythology there that could explain that, because Ronzael was supposedly a watcher, and I get the feeling they were rivals a little bit. There's some kind of something between them that's not copacetic. And Ronzael has always been, if I was going to say like, who's my, you know, my watcher, it would be Ronzael. And that could be why, like, maybe that's why we don't always get along. But one of the rituals I love doing with him, Asenath Mason has a version of it. I didn't know she did when I wrote mine. I should have looked it up. I didn't know. Is a sin eater ritual. And it's where you basically sacrifice a sin to him, something you regret, basically. Give that to him. Not like you're giving it to Jesus. I mean, you give it to him. He will take that from you, take that guilt, get all that shame out of you, and then do for you something of value, we'll say. And sometimes the only thing he'll do of value is just to make you free of that. And I used it on a regret that I had for a long time. It wasn't really a regret, but it was a thing that was bothering me, like a regret. And a thing I felt responsible for. And I put that, and it hasn't bothered me literally from the night I did that ritual forward. Not once. Doesn't even come into my mind except as a fact. It's like something that happened. It's like, I don't care. It's not a fear. It's not a regret. I don't feel anything over it. It's not even a numbness. It's like a literal, like, that ain't a problem anymore. So yes, Ninurta, I'm glad that helped them. I mean, if you're still talking to this person, you know, like, I'm not trying to get involved in anything crazy, but if they need advice on any of that stuff, you know, there's two groups of people I like working with. I'm going to say this very publicly. I love working with veterans and people with criminal pasts. I'm just going to say this right up front. I like working with those people, especially people who are like reformed criminals. I love working with people like that, because those two groups of people, they're very receptive to the kind of guidance and aid that I want to give. And I sort of resonate with what they've been through a little bit. What's that? Johan, what's up, brother? Thank you, honey. I didn't see that. Thank you. What's up, Johan? I keep meaning to call you back. I have been so busy. So believe me, I'm not writing you off, man. I actually want to hear from you, because I want to hear how you're doing. And I want to get you back on for a video at some point. That would be really cool, because Johan's very, very knowledgeable. I got to get you back on. I hope you're doing well. I hope your health is doing well. I'm not going to be free. Oh, you don't have to freaking super. Thank you for super chat, brother. We will have to talk very soon. I'm doing stuff this weekend. I'm probably going to be busy, but maybe sometime in the coming week, just text me and like give me an idea when you like can hang out for a little while. And we'll try to do like maybe a video conference or something, because I would like to hear from you again and see how you're doing, brother. I really appreciate that you're here tonight. That'd be pretty dope. So I hope you're doing well. When you talked to me on the phone or when you left me the message, you sounded like you're doing well. So I hope you came through the dark period you were going through. I hope you're doing well. I'm glad he overcame his habit. You know, here's the thing about that too. Like, addiction's like one of those things where if you demonize the addiction, that doesn't make it go away. sometimes you have to like hate it to make, you know, to fight it and everything. But I remember this one person I was talking to, and they were talking about how they were like addicted to this and that and everything else, and that they were trying to stop and blah, 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 blah. And I sort of like, I sort of took like an inverted tact against it. So, you know, everyone else is like going to sit there and judge you for having an addiction and like, you know, oh, you got to beat this and you got to be ashamed of it or whatever. I'm like, you know what? Instead of looking at this like a demon you've got to defeat, try integrating this so that you understand why you're doing it. You don't, you know, what if you don't really hate that you're addicted to this? What if you don't really hate that you're a drug user? What if the issue is that you hate something else and this is your way out? Or what if you secretly love this? What if you just love being fucked up? And it's the fact that you can't be fucked up and have a functional life that you hate, you know? Because it's not always like, I put it like this, when I was a cigarette smoker, I to this day, I still love smoking. And when I quit not because of it was making me sick or because I hated it or anything. I quit because I intellectually knew I had to, but I still loved it. And I didn't shame myself out of it. I literally just said, I'm doing this because I want to, but not because I'm ashamed or because I think it's going to kill me or any of this other stuff. I didn't make it a demon. I just said, this is a thing I've got to prove that I can do. And when I finished my last pack of cigarettes, I didn't buy another one. And it took like, the first 2 weeks were absolute hell on earth. You can ask my wife. Not because I was mad or miserable, but because I was a motor mouth the whole time. And I was manic. Yeah. She says I was manic. I was manic as hell.
Manic and maddening.
Maddening. I was a pain in the ass, but, so I look at it like that. Like I didn't hate smoking. I still don't. I would, if I could, I would be smoking cigarettes, not because I'm addicted to them, but because I was, I just enjoy the act of smoking cigarettes. I just did. It could have anything in it. I loved the whole thing. Like I just felt cool smoking. So sometimes when I encounter an addict, I ask them that kind of question. You know, are you trying to quit because you hate that you're doing it? Or are you really mad? Like, is the part that's making you hurt, is it the addiction or is it the fact that you love doing this and the world doesn't? If you could live in a world where you could be high all the time, didn't have to worry about anything, would you do it? Most people would say yes. Let's be honest. Like, that's not a hard question. If you're being honest, most people would say yes. Most people would say, yeah, I would be fucked up on whatever it is, and I wouldn't have to face reality. Okay, so now we're getting somewhere. Your problem is not the drug. It's that you don't want to face reality. That's the problem. It has nothing to do. Don't be ashamed of the chemicals. Don't be ashamed of this stuff. Realize why you're doing it. And when you can integrate that and accept that that's what's going on, it's a lot easier because now it's not about the drugs. Now it's about the other problem. Why do you think people who have bad addiction problems, if they do like an ayahuasca retreat, often recover from it? Why do you think that is? Because they dissolve that ego that's standing in the way, saying you got to do this, you got to do it for this reason, all this shit, and they learn how to heal because they realize it's not about the drugs, it's about their relationship with their life or the world or whatever that's causing the suffering. Now, some people, what they learn is to just embrace the addiction and just live their life that way. But it's a very tiny percentage. Most people realize that their addiction stems from a result of trying to escape something else. And when you integrate that, look, the addiction's still a chemical problem. It's still built into your body now. So it's never going to go, but you can integrate things, and I think healing can happen, and you can get not control. I think the idea of controlling it's even wrong. You can integrate it. Like, I don't like the word control for anything you're ashamed of about. I think integration is the right way to approach it. Integrate that addiction. And instead of saying, I've got to stop doing the addiction, you say, no, I'm going to let myself keep doing it, but I'm going to do it on my own terms, not on the drug's terms. So instead of saying, I'm going to do it, and I'm not giving anybody health advice. I'm just telling you my experience with this stuff. I'm not doing it on the drugs terms. I'm doing it on mine. I knew this one guy's like, I gotta be stoned like all day. I'm like, well, how about you say, I'm going to be stoned today, but I'm going to wait 10 minutes before I do it. I'm going to wake up and I'm going to set a timer. I'm going to wait 10 minutes. If you can do that, you can just keep doing that and improving on it so that you get control over it, but you still let yourself enjoy it. You basically get it integrated. So it's no longer a thing that you're fighting against. Everybody's different. Like I said, it's not medical advice. It's just, to me, that's the way to go with it. And I think that's kind of what worked for me with cigarettes. But even though I did cigarettes cold turkey, for me, it was also, there was a buildup to it. Like there was definitely things I was doing to like prove that I could, you know, like I would go a little extra time with that one. I would say, wait a minute and then do it. I would just find little ways to challenge myself till I realized I was ultimately the one who decided to do it or not. This is before I had any kind of non-dual magical spiritual awakenings or anything like that. So my wife and I went on a peyote retreat in Arizona back in 2017. That was an unforgettable experience. Never done the Sykes. It's on my bucket list for someday. I just have to find a reputable source for those things. Where I am. Like I said, I'm way out of the games, so I don't know where to get anything anymore. Really, like the best I can do is like, you know, if I go to like dispensaries on reservations, and I don't know if they have that. They might, but I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that white guy going in there going, hey, where's the fucking drugs at? You know, even if they have a counter full of it, I feel like I'm going to like, I just look weird. So I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But yeah, Johan's saying the withdrawal is bad. It is. I've heard that nicotine's in the top 3 of things that are addictive and hard to quit. So CJ says, describe your recent weed vape experience. Nah, I think I'm going to leave that off of here. I did put a post about it in Discord. I want to eat I want to eat mushrooms with Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's cool, man. If you're like, I know he's had a tough life, dude. He's another one I'd like to meet. He's another dude I'd like to talk to for a little while. You know, he seems like a fun guy. Like at least now, maybe like 20 years ago, he wasn't so much fun, but I think now he's fun. I think I'd like to talk to him. You know, I love the metamorphosis that he's been that he's been going through over the last 5-10 years, especially where he's like, he's himself. I feel like he's finally himself. Like over all the years that I've seen him as a boxer and as a celebrity, I feel like the whole time he hasn't been himself. And in the last 5 or 10 years, he finally took the chain off and is acting like his true self. And he must have had a spiritual awakening. I could tell he had some kind of a veil was lifted off of him in the last 5 or 10 years. And, you know, I think I would love to talk to him. I'd love to just hang out with him for a while, see if he and I would get along. I watched the interview he did with Alex Jones, and watching Alex Jones trying even a little bit to act like a tough guy around him was so fucking cringy, but they got along so well. If you guys haven't seen it, look up Alex Jones and Mike Tyson interview. And it's so fucking cringy, but it's a good kind of cringe. Like it's entertaining as fuck. Oh man, that's like something that like, I don't know, just those two names together, Mike Tyson and Alex Jones in an interview. Like that's like something that's just like this timeline. You can't like, I didn't know this timeline could exist. But check it out. It was a cool video. Johan says, I read somewhere that nicotine's as addictive as heroin, and he's been tobacco free for 1 year and 9 months. I believe it, man, because it's been like what? Going on. It's about 15 years since I quit. It's about 15 years. And I still occasionally look at that stuff. And it's not because I want the nicotine. I just look at the cigarettes and I just want them. I just want to smoke. I want my Zippo back. I want to do all my Zippo tricks. I want to do all the smoke tricks. I want to do all that stuff again. I love cigarettes, man. It wasn't even a, nicotine was just a side reason. It really was, it's really like sort of like oral fixation slash like just, it was part of my life. In fact, I was so much more productive when I smoked because I would, when I would do something and I'd stop to take a step back and look at it, I would reward myself with a cigarette. So I'd have to reach a certain point of completeness and then I could grab the cigarette. If I didn't, I couldn't smoke. So I was constantly like, if you could tell if I was being productive because you'd see like 2 or 3 fucking packs of cigarettes burnt up and I wouldn't sleep. I'd be up for like 2 days. And it's 2 days straight and like 3 packs of cigarettes would be gone and I'd finish something and I'd get something done. Like I was a workaholic with those things. So I don't know, man. I wish we could go back in time and live in the time when they weren't like so demonized and like also change the timeline so they're not bad for your health and like just make it so cigarettes are safe. Can we make it so cigarettes are safe? That'd be really cool. Yes, Susan Wojcicki, I'm just kidding. This is satire. Don't shadow ban me, bro. Yes, River, you made it to an actual live. I'll be going for a little bit longer, probably not too much longer, but we're kind of closing in on our, oh shit. Yeah, we're gonna have to go now, I guess. Sorry, River, you just got here and now we're going to be going. CJ says, I can quit anytime. This is just my choice. So Siege, if you haven't already, if you don't mind, it's up to you. You can dupe me your cell number or whatever. And, this way tomorrow I can text you unless Discord works for you where you're going. I can always just do that, but we're sort of planning on being in Newark around 5 or 6 ish, you know, give or take. Cause we'll probably meet up with you and hang out for a little bit and then go to the club. And oh, my wife's coming over with her prized object, which this is not going to be auctioned tomorrow, but she wants me to show this off cause she's got more like it on the Etsy. And we will be auctioning this on the 11th.
It is made with ball python skin.
Yeah, it's got actual
Fresh
ball
shed
python.
Under a coat of resin with a glowing eye.
Thank you, River. River says it's good to see us. Thank you, River. I appreciate that. Yeah, this is a nice one. I like this one. Get a little bit of schmutz off it there. Or is it a reflection? Oh, maybe it's just like a reflection. I hope they love it. Yeah, we didn't really talk about much. I didn't really rant much. So you kind of missed some stuff. Like you didn't miss much, I should say. Echo, thank you. I appreciate that. If you're interested, the link is in the description. We have others of different types. Same thing, Doc. If you guys are interested, you know, triangle mirrors versus square. That's my own personal stylistic preference. It doesn't matter, but the way I see it is a triangle is it's sort of like the minimum number of angles and dimensions for a stable portal or door or gate or object in 2 dimensions. Now you can go with the Vesica Piscis, right? You can do this, you get the Vesica Piscis going on. That's like the minimum for a slit, a cut in the veil. But a Trinity is a stable opening because it's got 3 legs to stand on, right? Now a square works, a circle works, they all work, but something about a triangle in particular, to me, Trinity's a big deal. And those of you who read my books, you know some of the reasons why. Trinity's a big deal. It's found in everything. You know, salt, sulfur, mercury, the Trimurti, the Trinity of God. They're all saying the same thing, right? It's the Pythagorean, you know, you don't get to the first real number until you get to 3. Everything before 3 is not a real number in Pythagorean numbers. And triangles are trinities, triangles. So it's not the number 3 that's magical. It is the essence of the Trinity that is magical, right? It's not the number 3. The number 3 is just notation. It's just a pictograph talking about 3s. The Trinity is, especially in that equilateral triangle format, excellent balance, excellent this. It's got a certain relationship, and it's aesthetically it's my favorite, but symbolically to me it's a really powerful gateway device. You know, and that's not to say that the other ones aren't. Circles, squares. In fact, I've really enjoyed using squares for sigils, but putting it like a diamond, like so it's point up and down instead of flat. So it's not that it has to be triangular, but nobody else is doing triangle mirrors, so that's kind of like our thing. That's one of the reasons we do it that way. So yeah. That's right, CJ. Squares can collapse under pressure more easily anyway. Triangles hold under pressure a little bit better. This is why you see in structures, when you see things are made, it's all a bunch of little triangles. And when you look at a bridge, when you're doing safe weight-saving building techniques, it's all little triangles. Absolutely, 100%. Triangles are more self-sustaining. All right, guys, I think I'm waning now. So, once again, for those of you who are late, who live in the area, I will be going to the club again tomorrow night in Newark, New Jersey. QXT's Iron Garden. Camille and I, CJ says he's coming. We're going to have some fun. I'm not doing any presentation. I'm just going. I'm just going to hang out. Like, I'm off the clock tomorrow. But I'm looking forward to meeting people, especially if you're a member of Iron Garden and you're tuning into this. You know, I'm looking forward to meeting you guys again. And we're going to hang out and have some fun. We're going to try to make this a somewhat regular thing. At least, you know, like I said, my wife and I are going to try to make it at least 4 times a year. And I'm definitely going to be doing that East Coast meetup thing at least once a year. So I'm not sure how that's going to work out. If there's a way to get Fleshy out here once a year, every year, or maybe we'll go visit him once in a while, I will do it. You know, even if I have to hook him up with a few bucks, even if I'm poor, I don't care. We had so much fun with Fleshy here, and he was actually like probably the coolest guest we've ever had. So we definitely want to get him back in person. We had so much fun with Fleshy out here. So yeah, I mean, that really made the whole thing extra good. But meeting everybody was awesome. We met Eddie, we met Jen, we met Lamia, we met CJ, we met Kelly, we met, oh my goodness, we met Alpha. Holy cow, we met, man, I'm so bad at names. We met Brian. Who am I forgetting? I feel like I'm forgetting somebody else. Is that all that came out? Jen came. I think I said Jen.
You said Jen.
Yeah, I guess that's everybody then. Yeah. Yeah, so we had so much fun meeting everybody.
Oh, we met Adam X?
Yeah, we met, but I mean like from our little circle.
No, I know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think my goal next year is to have more than we had this past year. And I'd like to make it a longer thing. Instead of just like an evening, I'd like to make it like a real get together, hangout. We do something cool and the club is just part of it, you know, or something like that. So next year, watch this space for sure. We'll probably do it around the same time. So, all right, guys, I think that's it. Again, if you want to support me, go to the Linktree in the description of this video, and you can find links to my books. You can find links to the Etsy, which Camilla put up again. You can find all my other stuff. Everybody who give us super chat, I really appreciate you. All my friends and everybody who popped in tonight, I appreciate you guys. And I hope to see you all again next week. And until then, mind the shadows.